have primary control of critical vehicle functions. Roger roll, Discovery.
Hello and welcome to Cutting the Boards in the Post-Truth Apocalypse. I'm Ben, and as always I'm joined by Gaz.
Hello.
And Mike.
Hello.
And today we're going to go first part of a two-parter about the moon landings and the conspiracy. The conspiracy will be next week. This week we're going to take you through the space race.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So have we got any new listeners in various places this week?
Tallinn in Estonia, Nottingham, United Kingdom, Almada, Portugal, Kuala Lumpur. I like saying
We
like
have a
that.
listener in Estonia.
Yeah?
Yep.
Lucca, Italy, Guadalajara, Spain, Dakar in Bangladesh, Glasgow, Brighton, United Kingdom, South Brisbane, Australia, Denpasar, Indonesia, wow, Peshawar, Pakistan, Edmonton, Canada, Alca de Henares.
Happy Canada Day for the other day, eh?
Was it Canada Day as well?
The day before July 4th.
Oh, man.
Happy July 4th.
Yeah.
Yes. Little Rock, Flint, Michigan, London, Bangalore, India, Porterville and Benton. Thanks for listening.
Thank you
We're
very much.
global.
I've just noticed as well, speaking of professionalism, that the camera is on the piss. So,
Just like us.
I just
Cheers, guys. Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, I'd like the listener to know as well that without telling me, I got to Mike's place today and he's completely rearranged the apartment, like literally switched rooms around and stuff. So I felt like I had taken a very strong dose of acid without being told. It was slightly unnerving for a few seconds. Oh well. On with the show.
Yeah, so we're going to do weird news. It's live on Facebook. It usually takes about 20 minutes or so, and it's some random stuff we found on the net that we think is fairly amusing.
Let's get the boys' views on this week's weird news.
The Apollo 11 tapes bought for $218 may sell for millions after nearly being lost.
After being lost.
After being lost, yeah. So tapes identified in 2008 as the only surviving original recording of the first moon landing in 1969 go up for auction in July.
Fake.
When
Never
Gary,
How come NASA don't have hold of these tapes? You'd think they'd have maybe kept hold of them.
they lost them, didn't they?
Oh, and some lucky son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Or someone took them home with them one day.
I've already
Oh,
bought
right.
them for $218.
Holy crap. Okay, I understand now.
When Gary George bought a truckload of videotapes, so he bought a truckload of them.
Okay, that's a lot of videos.
It is for $218 from a US government surplus auction more than 40 years ago. He planned to sell them to television stations to record over. Fortunately, he decided to hold on to the 3 tapes labelled Apollo 11 EVA, which have since been identified as the only surviving original recording of the first moon landing in 1969.
Incredible, isn't it?
Wow.
Biggest achievement of mankind.
Yeah.
They lost the original tape.
Chuck in a fucking jumble
Yeah.
sale.
What are you doing?
Well, they made copies at that point.
Yeah.
But the originals you'd want to hang on to, let's face it. Now the tapes obviously include Neil Armstrong's famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," are to go on sale in July at Sotheby's in New York, and they're expected to fetch as much as $2 million.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Yep. Lucky bugger.
Yeah? Yeah.
Good on him.
In 2006, NASA admitted they could not find the original video recordings of the landing, and it was not until 2 years later, when George was on holiday with a friend who worked at NASA, that he found they were looking for them.
I bet that fed the fucking conspiracy theorist, didn't it? Oh, can't find the original tapes, can we?
I love this quote.
Because they were
I did
reproduced.
for a bit, yeah.
I love this quote. Quote, "Quite frankly, I was sitting on the table drinking a beer and I said, well damn, I have those."
To see his eyes just turn to dollar signs.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. He didn't actually have the equipment to watch the tape, so he started speaking to NASA, and they had the equipment because it's NASA.
Well,
Or they knocked it up. Yeah, there you go.
Very
The original
true.
tapes.
And now he is up to his eyeballs in cocaine and hookers.
I hope so.
Good on him.
Maybe he's a bit old for that because he's had them for 43 years.
Nah, he's living his best life now.
Yeah.
He's got one of them fucking cars that bounces up and
Oh,
down.
he's just driving down the strip, playing blasting hip hop while bouncing his car.
Massive bling.
Do you think he's turning some kind of pimp?
NASA bitch!
Oh, do you think he's got the NASA pimp
Yeah.
ring across his knuckles?
Definitely.
Solid gold.
What a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. What we got next then?
Okay, next up. Man kills roommate and chops up his body. Claims he was preventing a mass shooting.
Well, he
one
may
defence.
well have been.
A Florida man decided to nip a problem in the bud. Extreme emphasis on the nipping part. He nipped the problem into several pieces with a hacksaw in his bathtub.
Well, that's where you've got to do it.
Oh man.
52-year-old Eric DeCosta of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, is charged with premeditated murder and abuse of a dead body in the death of his roommate Paul Stephen Dometko. After he turned himself in for killing and chopping up Domenko's body, DeCosta told police that he did it because he thought Domenko was crazy and would end up being the next mass shooter.
So he out-crazied the crazy guy.
Well, we can't prove that he wasn't.
This is true. What he said, can I read the quote?
Yep.
Officer, you have to understand, I had to murder my roommate in cold blood, painstakingly cut off his head and limbs, and dispose of his freshly hacked body parts in a swamp. He was crazy.
He was nuts. You should see the other guy. Oh man.
That's fantastic. Well, it's not fantastic, but it's preventative.
DeCosta claimed that Dometko had become increasingly violent over the years, was prone to violent verbal outbursts, threatened to kill DeCosta and his family, and used cocaine regularly. Dometko had also had an undiagnosed mental illness, according to DeCosta. DeCosta also told police that Dometko could possibly be the next mass killer that we hear about in the media.
Wow.
Well, don't call the police, don't inform your local authorities. Cut his fucking head off!
Chop his body up in the bathtub.
Yeah! The same bathtub that I assume your family's going to use after you've cleaned up and stuff.
Well, you obviously you just leave the blood in there, would you?
It's not like, oh, a bit of domestos, that'll sort it out. It's still grim.
You'd have to change
Get
the
in the murder
bathtub.
bath.
You'd have to change the bathtub.
Of course. Well, he hasn't got to worry about it now, has he?
No, that's
He'll be
true.
having prison baths from now on.
Prison showers.
Nobody wants a prison bath.
No.
It's something entirely different. Involves several men emptying themselves into your mouth.
And you
Any
never,
orifice, I imagine.
That's a
never
prison bath.
ever pick up the soap. Just don't pick it up.
I just wouldn't wash ever.
Oh,
Wouldn't leave
I
my
wouldn't.
cell. Or the blanket would just be under it forever. Well,
Mind you, a lot of drugs in prison nowadays.
I'd probably have a great time.
Is that it for that, really?
Yeah.
Well,
Next up,
Yeah,
one
man.
more.
Okay. Man kept a pet attack squirrel, fed it meth to make it aggressive, police claim. Wow.
why not just... Why a squirrel?
Oh God, Alabama. An Alabama man allegedly devised a new outside-the-box means of self-defense. Should anyone come after him, channeling some sort of trailer park Looney Tune, according to police, 35-year-old Mickey Porlock kept a pet squirrel that he fed meth in order to turn it from just your average skittish tree rodent into an instrument of death. So, being the protectors of their community, the police raided what they believed to be his apartment, because having a pet squirrel is illegal, and obviously the police needed to end this grievous crime doing as soon as possible. They didn't find him, however, because he doesn't live there anymore. Instead, they found 37-year-old Ronnie Reynolds and enough meth to make the place look like Redneck Superman's Fortress of Solitude. So they arrested Reynolds instead. And really, how could the authorities not act on the news that a local man was raising an attack squirrel? The danger that represents to the public is incalculable. A methed out squirrel could gnaw through a dozen throats before the police could even be able to respond. and the thing is so small and fast that it would be nearly impossible to shoot. If that thing got loose and went on a rampage, you'd basically have to evacuate the town and firebomb it.
Well, I was going to
I
say,
concur.
if you want something to guard you, I don't know, get something a bit more traditional, like a dog.
Maybe a...
Cheaper.
Maybe
So-
like...
and you haven't got to feed it meth.
Yeah.
I'd say like 25 methed out squirrels on leads. That'd be pretty gangster. Just one is pretty scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you had like a bunch of them,
Yeah.
How do you control the methed out squirrel?
you throw meth at the person you want to die.
And keep it in your pocket.
Fetch that, you little furry junky bastards.
Grab a squirrel, put some meth down his throat and lob it.
I suppose so. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's shocking animal cruelty. Let's not
Like you're
forget that.
loading a bomb.
Don't condone this.
But it just seems a little elaborate for your average redneck.
These poor squirrels are going to end up sucking dick for meth
Yeah,
money.
you can't release these squirrels back into the environment, can you? They're going to start robbing off
They've been
licenses.
robbing other nut stashes.
Yeah.
Stealing nuts from their own granny.
Leaving
to
meth,
pay for meth.
leaving piles of nuts on the local meth dealer's doorstep in the hope they'll leave them some meth out in the morning.
To be fair,
Nuts
the
for
great,
meth
The
programme.
nuts some meth program, exactly.
the grey squirrel invaded Britain and pushed out our beloved red squirrel, didn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe if we get the grey squirrels meth addicted, wipe them out.
No, we'll get the red squirrels meth addicted. They'll kill all the grey ones.
Okay. Alright, well, I think we need to, a little bit more
And then we'll
research
get some
and
monkeys
planning.
that look like squirrel meat.
Yeah,
Kill
when we're
them.
overrun with squirrels, we'll release the monkeys.
It
When
always
the
works,
monkeys are
doesn't it?
overrun,
Yeah, just release
When the
another
winter comes, the
animal.
monkeys will freeze and die.
and when the monkeys come, we'll release the bear. When the monkeys are too many monkeys, we'll release the bears.
I saw something fucking awful on Twitter the other day. Like, I'll just tell you this brief story, then we'll wrap it up. So the thread went, we're staying in these hotels, I can't remember what country it was, somewhere in South America, and there's warnings that the monkeys will come in the hotel rooms at night
I couldn't be having that.
after food and stuff, so just be vigilant. And they were like, I swear to God, and photograph evidence is following, this Brazilian guy fell asleep and is now being sucked off by a monkey. I scrolled down. I kind of wish I hadn't, but I'm also glad I did. This guy is completely zonked out with an erection, and there is just like this black monkey thing just sucking his dick. That guy's probably having the best dream of his life about some supermodel sucking him off. In reality, it's probably some AIDS-ridden, disease-ridden. And these Irish lads who posted it, instead of waking him up and chasing the monkey off and just going, Twitter.
Of course.
Isn't that really dangerous for the
Yeah.
guy being sucked off?
But then
Well, imagine
actually,
so, yeah.
is it more dangerous to scare the monkey off?
Oh, if it bites
bite
his
down,
cock off.
and they will go through it. They go
He
through
wakes
your
up bleeding to death and you've got to explain it to him. I thought I was helping.
dick. I mean, what you do?
Oh, well, I hope he didn't.
So you got to throw some food in the opposite direction, try to get the monkey's
I
attention.
guess, yeah. I'll get you a cock out.
Well, there's the Welsh in you coming out.
Luring away with your member.
Imagine how rejected you'd feel if you couldn't tempt it.
Or he just points and does that high-pitched laugh.
It just carries on.
This has been the shittest holiday I've ever been able to get a monkey to suck me off. Well, on that note,
Rather a monkey blowjob than a meth attack squirrel.
truer words have never been said on this pod. I think we should wrap it up.
Okay, so before we launch ourselves into the Apollo program, let's have a little bit of background on the moon. So, how was it formed? There's three theories on how our planet's satellite could have been created. First one is the giant impact hypothesis. Whoa. Giant impact.
We've all had a few of them.
Yeah. The prevailing theory, supported by the scientific community. The giant impact hypothesis suggests that the moon formed when an object smashed into early Earth. Like the other planets, Earth formed from the leftover cloud of dust and gas orbiting the young sun. The early solar system was a violent place, and a number of bodies were created that never made it to full planetary status.
Like Pluto.
Pluto was a planet.
Yeah, it was not many.
It's because of the greed of Plutonians, Mike.
Fuck you, Pluto.
One of these could have crashed into Earth not long after the young planet was created. Known as Theia, the Mars-sized body collided with Earth, throwing vaporized chunks of the young planet's crust into space. Gravity bound the ejected particles together, creating a moon that is the largest in the solar system in relation to its host planet. This sort of formation would explain why the moon is made up predominantly of lighter elements, making it less dense than the Earth. The material that formed it came from the crust, while leaving the planet's rocky core untouched. There you go. Alright, let's go for the next one. The co-formation theory. Moons can also form at the same time as their parent planet. Under such an explanation, gravity would have caused material in the early solar system to draw together at the same time as gravity-bound particles together to form Earth. Such a moon would have a very similar composition to the planet and would explain the moon's present location. However, although Earth and the moon share much of the same material, the moon is much less dense than our planet, which would likely not be the case if both had started out with the same heavy elements at their core. In 2012, researcher Robin Canup of the Southwest Research Institute in Texas proposed that Earth and the moon formed at the same time when two massive objects, 5 times the size of Mars, crashed into each other. Nibiru and Nibiru 2.
Yeah.
After colliding, the two similar-sized bodies then recollided, forming an early Earth surrounded by a disk of material that combined to form the moon. NASA said the recollision and subsequent merger left the two bodies with a similar chemical composition seen today.
So did NASA, is that the theory they go with then?
I think
Or
it's...
is it still open for debate?
I think the top one, the first one, is the most popular.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
That one sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
I think it's
My
one of them
limit,
things that
maybe.
you'll probably... They'll never kind of find out for sure with the level we're at.
Unless we meet some alien race that has,
Yeah.
can give us that info.
Which is a possibility,
Like,
because...
show us video of it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Or we might, in the future, create technology that can
oh,
find it out.
yeah, like computer.
Them chrono goggles the Vatican's got.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
The chrono
I was
visor.
thinking more like a computer
Or
simulation.
like a quantum
program.
computer.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps Earth's gravity, this is the capture theory, sorry. Perhaps Earth's gravity snagged a passing body, as happened with other moons in the solar system, such as the Martian moons of Phobos and Deimos. Under the capture theory, a rocky body formed elsewhere in the solar system could have been drawn into orbit around Earth. The capture theory would explain the differences in the composition of Earth and its moon. However, such orbiters are oddly shaped often, rather than being spherical bodies like the moon, and their paths don't tend to line up with the ecliptic of their parent planet. Also, unlike the moon.
So something was just chucking past.
And Earth went, thank you,
It was like, fuck.
like a smackhead shoplifter.
They've missed one theory out. The fourth theory.
Moon
It's
base.
not natural yet.
Yeah, well, NASA aren't going to go on about that, are they?
No, I just thought I'd add it.
Do you know what, Mike? If he's listening, David
He
Icke's
would.
dick just got hard. Woo!
We might get him on for an interview.
Never know. Yeah, moon base. I'm not sure what evidence there is for the moon base theory.
Probably not a lot. But I just thought I'd add it.
Yeah, no, it's as plausible as
That's
any.
it.
Well,
Or
no
is it?
one... I mean,
Probably not, but
No, look,
But-
there's three...
until we know for sure, anything's game, isn't it?
There you go.
There's 3 theories that the science community goes for. That one's, you know, they just don't go for that because obviously then they have to admit that there's reptilians.
Very true. Slippery slope.
Yeah,
That's it.
I know the forked tongue is a fucking lizard tongue on the NASA symbol.
Oh, here we go.
Oh man.
There's no denying it.
We
It's
didn't
the
even
twin
get to the
thing.
hour.
There's a twin blasts of rockets, Mike. It's propelling us into the stars.
Never a straight answer.
Oh god.
Forked
Funny
tongue.
enough, that thing I was watching today about the moon with the astronaut, the conspiracy theorist, and the TV presenter, and like the astronaut just sat there and he's like, every time he said NASA, the guy just said, never a straight answer. And you could, I thought at one point he was going to lean across the table and just punch you in the face. It was
Buzz
great.
Aldrin style.
Yeah.
Love you, Buzz.
Yeah. That was great. I loved that.
Excellent clip for the listener. If you don't know what we're referencing, you must have seen it. Famous clip. Conspiracy guy goes up to Buzz, blah blah blah, chatting shit to him.
He
about-
does literally just shout at him, you're
Yeah.
a liar, and pointing in his
so
face.
Buzz, who's probably in his 70s or 80s at the time, just fucking clocks him.
To be fair,
It's a good
it's a
punch.
fucking great punch.
It's like it looked like you know, the sort of punch you'd expect in Air Forceman and ex-military.
The guy who's fought in the Korean War
and
flew
landed on the
planes.
motherfucking moon!
Yeah.
He's got balls bigger than your fucking head!
Possibly Mars.
Excuse me? Did I take some acid?
There's a conspiracy theory
Right.
that suggests that after Saturn V, NASA's plan, after the moon mission, NASA's plan, the whole point of the moon mission was to springboard us to Mars.
Right.
Well, the theory goes that in the mid-80s they strapped about 5 Saturn V rockets together and did exactly that. And Buzz
sent
Aldrin was the first man on Mars, but you can obviously never tell anybody.
Wouldn't it have took a long time to get there and back?
6 months, isn't it?
Is that
6
all?
to 18 months depending on where Mars is, because you don't aim for Mars, you aim for where Mars is going to be when you get there. Remember, because it's orbiting your own, so...
Yeah, because it's an elliptical orbit. At some points it's closer. At some
Yeah,
points it's
so you
further
aim when
away.
it's closer away, and then you've got a choice of leaving when you have to, or waiting around until it's closer again.
I mean, what's the moon? 3 days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Big difference in the 3 days to 6 months.
It's like the famous ice hockey player Wayne Gretzky says. You don't go to where the puck is, you go to where the puck's gonna be.
Yeah, and I imagine Gary Lineker would say the same. Famous English footballer, never scored from outside the box.
Fucking goal
I've
hanger.
seen...
He was a goal
Do you know
hanger.
what his film company's called though? Because they make documentaries.
Goal hanger,
Goal
isn't it?
hanger
Yeah.
films. Yeah. Fair play to him. I like Gary Lineker.
So do I.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Um,
I suppose
so
his ears are moon shaped. I guess it's relative.
at least he did actually stick by his bet when he said, if Leicester win the league, I will perform the show in my pants. And he did come out in a pair of boxers, to be fair to him.
Good on him.
You know?
Yeah.
Crisp loving freak.
At least you can trust what Gary says.
Gary for PM.
Gary for PM.
Oh, God.
Can't do a worse job than them cunts, can he?
As Mike takes another drink, it's turned into an
No
alcoholic.
politics,
The
come
state of politics is turning
Yeah,
Mike into an
no
alcoholic.
politics.
This is the moon, we can
them
do this. This
cunts
is the moon.
just swings from a fucking Domestos bottle in a brown paper bag.
Won't be long, mate. State of our country, it's a fucking disgrace, isn't it?
So we've got some moon facts.
Yeah, a full day on the moon from one sunrise to the next lasts about 29.5 Earth days on average.
Wow. Okay, cool.
No man or woman has been on the moon in the last 41 years.
Yeah, at least the Soviets sent a woman into space. The moon is moving away from us by 3.78 centimetres, that's 1.48 inches in a year.
So we might lose it one day.
Eventually.
We might just fuck off.
He's just going to have enough of you lot.
That's it, yeah.
Keep sending
There'll
people
be a
up here
campaign
crawling
for people to get up there before it, and I just go with it, like, just see where the moon takes me, man.
It's going to be a very slow journey though. Let's say you're up there for 50 years. That's 50
I can
times
still
3.
see the goddamn Earth, man.
That's 50 times 150. It's moved 150 centimetres.
Okay. But one day, theoretically, the humans may all be gone, but one day the Earth will still be there and the moon will just finally escape the
Yeah.
fucking cancer-like grip
Eventually-
that the Earth has over it.
Yeah. It's just like giving us the finger as it goes as
It's
well.
just trying to get away from us before we spread to it. It's just like- maybe it was once... Fuck, blew my own mind. Maybe it was once vibrant like Earth, and the humans spread from the moon to Earth.
Instead of Mars.
We destroyed, we
There's
killed...
no evidence, though.
What do
On
you mean?
Mars,
There's
there's
all them,
evidence of water flowed.
there's
Well,
all
not
them,
on the moon.
all them pyramids on the moon. And all those ruins of lost civilizations.
That's it, yeah. On the dark side of the moon.
Well, it's a Nazi
Wait,
base on the
we-
dark side of the moon. We all know that.
We can't see it, can we?
That's it.
Chinese did, didn't they?
They flew around there.
And
We've seen it, yeah, NASA.
Yeah.
Because we had to go behind it to get round it to go on
Yeah.
it, didn't we?
Yeah, it's
To
true.
get back.
Did
So
you
we
see
do
that?
know what's on it then, don't we? Could they see? I heard a little bit of audio of them saying like the first time somebody had been that close flying, like once they got in the moon's orbit for the first time, they were like, so what's the moon look like from 60 metres? And then he literally said, he was like, grey, looks like plaster of Paris, dusty. I was like, fuck. Oh well, he's a pilot, not a poet.
Yeah. Well, he was he looking out the window because didn't they literally have? They didn't like the instrument on the panel that told them if they were level or not.
Yeah.
So what they did is they worked out that the different heights on the window, drew lots of lines across with the heights by it, and lined it up with the horizon.
Fuck it up.
So that's because they just didn't like the instrument. They just found it easier to fly by line of sight in a way. But it always puzzled me with Apollo. It was 8 that did well, in 10, we'll find out later on, we'll go through them all. They're 60 metres above the moon, and you're like, you'd be tempted just to fucking knock it down, wouldn't you? Knock it down, touch down.
No, I think you'd be more terrified that, like, if anything remotely if anything goes wrong, it's just what a horrible death. You don't comprehend being lost out there for even if it's for an hour.
Maybe you just dial impact to be fine.
You can't think of it.
Just comprehending your own death for an hour. Here it comes. Oh, feeling sleepy. Oh yeah. Oh, oxygen's going now. Oh, I do love my wife and my mum. Oh, and me dog. Hot dogs were nice. Football on a sunny Sunday. Oh no, no. Admittedly painless, but psychologically, I don't have to prepare for that. Like just drifting off into the void.
Or you might just die on impact.
That's probably a better way to go. Just to.
You got your helmet on, and then the visor breaks, and you just have decompression for a bit. 20-30 second dry, balls pop out, and you're done.
Is it like in the movie Total Recall where Arnie, his eyes bulge out and he's like, and it's all swelling? Would that happen if my helmet smashed open on the moon?
No, I don't think it would. I think you just simultaneously choke and freeze to death.
Bleed from your orifices.
You bleed from your orifices, yeah.
So, oh, but it'd be silent though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, don't go to the moon. Sounds dangerous.
It does.
Okay, your mobile phone has more computing power than the computers used for the Apollo 11 moon landing.
Wow.
Yeah, but those computers were bigger, so...
Yeah, it was literally one entire ring of the top bit of the shuttle, wasn't it? The shuttle, rocket, the command module. It was like, this is one massive ring of computers around the top.
Fair play. So, it would take less than 6 months to get to the moon by car. That's 60 miles an hour.
Space car.
Wow.
That's where Elon Musk sent that fucking car. In 6 months' time, there's that dummy in the thing's going to be on the moon.
Where the fuck is that car?
It's floating around, I think.
Is
I
it
don't know. I don't think it's in orbit.
It's just heading out towards the... What if it eventually hits the sun and causes some sort of cataclysm?
Oh, the electric! I hope there wasn't electricity in that car.
And it just shuts out the sun or something. Oh, thanks, Mr. Musk.
Or
Mr. Save the Planet.
Or just blows out a massive solar flare in our direction.
We'll scorch to death. Thanks, Mr. Musk.
And we know it's coming because we've got 8 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, great! I've got 8 minutes. Fucking awesome. Cheers, Musk.
Watch it over the horizon.
I think I'd really just spend the last 8 minutes of my life watching Elon Musk being beaten to death live on TV.
Yeah, in between wanks.
Yeah. And that's when I realised there's nothing I wouldn't masturbate to. Even Elon Musk getting beaten to death.
Would you like to read us a moon fact?
Obviously we're taking out the taboos. The beautiful symmetry of a total solar eclipse happens because, by pure chance, the sun is 400 times larger than the moon, but is also 400 times farther from Earth, making the two bodies appear the exact same size in the sky. Well,
convenient, isn't it?
All of a sudden I'm down for intelligent design. I'm converted as a god.
Pure chance.
He gave us those beautiful
dodgy,
solar
that's
eclipses.
I'm like, that's dodgy, that. We know that there's no fucking coincidence.
Well, it's God, isn't it? I'm
Maybe that's how
converted
good
now.
the simulation is.
It's a bit dodgy, isn't it?
Intelligent design, God did it all. I'm a convert now, that's it.
Or aliens.
So if it wasn't,
Oh, it's really the
it
aliens.
is an alien spaceship. It'd be very handy to block out the entire sun, to come down to Earth and say, we're your leaders. If you don't kneel, the sun's going to never come back.
Yeah, but it's only blocking out the sun of a part of the part of the planet, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you just do a little tour then, right? And
Follow it round. Everyone's getting daylight then.
yeah.
No, what you do is that's when you're recharging, isn't it? That's when you're recharging your spaceship. You're running on so you're using the sun to power whatever's
Well, you do that
powering
anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but when they're done directly, that's
Maybe
when
it's
you
to do with
blast it.
Makes
communications.
no difference, does it?
Or communications.
Maybe
there's
that's
something
the
to do
only
with that.
time the channel is open.
Yeah.
The direct line of communication to the other galaxy that we originated from in the first place.
Maybe.
Oh, take me with you. But bring me back. I only want to visit, just for a little bit.
And
Make a hell of a part. So, give us a moon fact.
The moon is round. It's not round, but egg-shaped.
Flat moon.
Egg moon.
Our moon is bigger than Pluto and a quarter the diameter of Earth. Again, a quarter.
Time cube.
Time cube.
It was built by Freemasons.
Oh, this is an interesting one actually. People experience better sleep during the new moon and a worse sleep during a full moon. And I know for a fact that the crime rate goes up during a full moon.
Isn't that horoscope bollocks? But do you know what?
No,
listen. Do you know what some horoscope lady said to me once? It's always stuck with me. It could be bollocks, but she wanted to draw me, like, do a whole chart for me and give me a reading and all this stuff. And I was like, oh God, no. She said to me, she was like, right, the moon and the tides, the magnetism, it affects the tides of the Earth. I was like, yeah. And she's like, and are you really arrogant enough to think then that it doesn't affect the metals in your body?
The water.
Like, no, like the moon, like if the moon, the magnetic field from the moon is strong enough to move the fucking oceans and stuff and affect things.
Well, we're mostly water.
We're 75% water.
Well, the metal in us as well, I guess, was her point. But that was her quote. Like, do you think then it wouldn't affect the metal in you, which would then affect your
I don't
mood?
think. Does the moon? You
I
can't
don't know.
move rock and metal, can it? Just water.
Well, it's magnetism, the gravity, whatever. She's saying if it affects the tides, it's probably affecting you too.
Yeah.
Because you're little.
I think she was trying to make the water point
Yeah.
because she's a horoscopist and full of shit.
She's trying to
she
make
went
me
wrong.
believe in her big fucking chart that was going to take hours to do. And I was like, I'm here to deliver a fucking sofa.
Really? Was that the only reason you were there?
Yeah, I was working for a charity at the time, the PDSA, and she'd bought a fucking sofa, wherever it was, from the charity shop, and I went to deliver it to like some little cottage in the middle of nowhere, and she wanted to give me this reading and draw me a chart and counsel me, and I was like, fuck no, I have to get back. Ah, well. I remembered that quote though.
No, apparently though, the crime rate does go up on a full moon.
Well, is it a coincidence?
Full moon's always associated with bad stuff going down. Werewolves, crime rate going up. Lunatic, the word lunatic, lunar, the moon.
Ooh.
Nudity.
Hey,
Nudity,
Full moon.
yeah.
mooning people.
Or are you doing some kind of weird ritual under full moons, Mike?
Always. Isn't everybody?
Sometimes.
Get naked and dance.
In the
Chickens.
moonlit. Dance with chickens. Why not?
Bark at the moon.
Bark at
Look
the
at the
moon.
moon.
Look at the moon. It's a slightly less metal version.
It's a shit metal version.
Chicken shit. Oh, right.
Of the 6 flags planted on the moon, 5 of them are still standing.
Your weight on the moon is 16.5% of your weight on Earth.
Fantastic.
Good news for all the chubbies. If they ever get to the moon, I guess. If there are 2 full moons in the same month, the second one is called Blue Moon. Blue, 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 blue. I saw you standing.
The American flag's placed on the moon on a white due to the radiation of the sun, or is it a gesture of surrender to our reptilian overlords?
Buzz Aldrin was the first man to pee on the moon.
I'd have done that.
Well, when you gotta go, you gotta go. He didn't get his cock out.
No,
did he?
his
They
cock
just
would have
said frozen
exploded.
up.
I think he actually might be weed in a jar.
Houston, I've made a terrible mistake. Left it like a cock-sized coffin draped in the American flag. Gets carried up. Full military.
Buzz is just there in a wheelchair with blanket draped over his legs, just looking sad.
We made it to the moon, Buzz. I lost my car. It really would take away from humanity's greatest achievement.
It would. Be funny to watch though.
Why didn't I just pee in my pants? Bless him.
I'd have peed in the module, in a jar, sealed the jar, spacesuit on, taken the jar out with me, left it on the moon.
But you can't pee in the jar because it would just keep...
I just have to hold it right there.
I bet getting it out would be... There'd be some slippage and floatage.
I practiced this
and
over
if
the
you had
course
to
of 3
fly
days.
all the way back home with a little bit of your piss floating around everywhere and the other one just staring at you like, you fucking animal.
Alright then.
It's going to take like 3 days to get home.
What about if I piss in the jar before I go, take it with me.
That's much
and
more
then,
sensible.
You know, put it on the moon.
Is it really that important to you to quote mark your territory?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Why not take it one further and just leave a used Johnny up there as well?
Just throw a McDonald's bag out there. And a Big Mac meal.
Crush a can of carne.
A Big Mac meal on the way up because we'll start lifting the moon.
My moon.
Why is the module overweight? What's that sofa doing there? Lounging around in a
Oh, I've got to get rid of it somewhere, Houston.
Old mattress. Piss-stained mattress.
There's an old mattress as a part of a kiddie's place.
Yeah, there's always a kiddie's playset and a pishy mattress. Oh, and then some
bloody
nondescript rubble type stuff.
Yeah, a few rags usually, you're right, yeah.
Nappies.
There's always one shoe as well.
Oh dear. We did leave a load of shit up there though, didn't we?
Yep.
Oh yeah, there's pretty much everything they took with them that wasn't the landing module just got left there. Even the lunar rovers are still there.
All the rubbish as well.
What are we like? Bags of shit and urine?
Yep.
Literally, yeah. Ah, we're great, we are.
Aren't we?
Well, no one's living there that we know of.
But still, it's just so human. Did they throw the bags of shit in a tree? That's a joke for the dog walkers out there.
I fucking hate that.
I mean, why throw it in the tree? Be discreet and drop it in the bush.
Half the time there's a fucking bin 100 metres away.
I know.
I know it's a bit fucking smelly, but just hold it low and just fucking...
I hope someone somewhere went to launch it in the tree, but the bag opened.
Oh, so do
They
I.
just splat themselves.
So do I.
Drenched themselves in shit.
I hope so.
Yeah.
If there is a god, that has happened.
He's like, you walk past and, oh look, a dog shit tree.
I hate it.
Great.
Think of the poor council worker who's got his little litter picker and reach up. Oh, I love my life.
You're in the fucking woods, just don't bother picking it up. There's fucking
That's
rabbits.
better than bagging it and chucking it in a tree.
There's
isn't it?
rabbits and badgers and foxes shitting everywhere. Just let the dog go, it's the woods. Fucking hell.
If it's in the rough, leave it. If it's on the path,
Yeah, pick it up on the path, pick it up.
If it's on the moon, fuck it.
Yep.
Actually,
back.
I saw a deer the other week.
On the moon.
Not on the moon, no. Walking a dog in Dorley. Saw a deer. We don't get deer in Dorley.
You saw a deer walking a dog.
Oh no, I was walking a dog. I saw a deer. It was fucking ace.
Awesome.
It was like Bambi, literally like Bambi. I was like, fuck.
I was a very slight tangent, it'll be really quick, but on the subject of deers, our animal hierarchy is weird. I saw in the distance what I was fairly convinced was a large dead dog, and I was like literally out loud like, oh no. And as I got alongside it and realised it was a deer, I was like, and off I went. But if it had been a dog, I would have been traumatised, but it was a deer and I was just like, fuck them. They don't fetch. But
Neither do mine.
I don't do tricks.
Too
and
fucking
stuff.
lazy.
They don't make me feel better about myself as a human.
Buzz Aldrin's mother's maiden name was Moon.
Man, fuck, she got married. Buzz Moon. It's a stupid name. He may never have achieved anything.
Well, he only achieved greatness because his name was Buzz.
Well, yeah, he had a cool first name, but if his name was Buzz Moon, he would have got bullied into oblivion. He would have, maybe. Or like in Red Dwarf, that's why Ace Rimmer, because he was bullied and kept back.
Yeah.
That's why he succeeded.
Yeah.
Who knows? In the multiverse,
We'll never
it's
know.
happening.
The space race, basically, started off as a bit of a rocket test. Let's say a rocket competition. Who can get intercontinental ballistic missiles to hit the other side? USA on one side, Russia on the other. Then that kind of changed when the US in the 50s under Eisenhower said, we're going to put some satellites up.
Oh, well done, Chester.
Sorry about that. Chester, the show cat, has knocked the backup mic off the table. Well done, Chester. The Russians then were like, well, hang on, that's a missile gap they've got on us, because they can get a rocket into space and we can't. So they press ahead, and in 1959 you get Sputnik 1. First man-made satellite to orbit the Earth. The Americans collectively shit their pants.
Yeah.
Because now the Russians have got better rockets than they have.
I hadn't thought about this till I listened to that excellent BBC podcast called 13 Minutes. That really was, for your 1950s American, like the idea of them being in space above us.
Yeah.
being terrifying because it is, because they're above you in space, no one can get to them, no one can get up there. But then B, this other idea that that's how far ahead of us they are.
That's it.
Yep.
That's equally as terrifying.
And then remember, they got the atom bomb. The Americans got the A-bomb. Then they went on to do the hydrogen bomb. I think the Russians had the A-bomb about 1950 and the hydrogen bomb a little bit after the Americans, but not as far.
But they can drop a bomb from
But that's
space.
it. They can drop bombs from space, and they can hit us with their missiles, and we can't hit them with ours. That's why we've got to have silos in Britain and silos in Germany and things like that. We need to hit them. They can hit us straight away.
Yeah, it's sad, really, in a way, that it was only through fear that made us want to start this race in the first place. It would have been nice to be. I mean, we're going to listen to JFK's speech, and he does speak quite nobly and about noble causes and all this. But I mean, what it boils down to is
the military-industrial complex.
Fear of the enemy, isn't it? Yeah.
One of the astronauts, I'm really sorry I didn't. I've listened to so many of them over the last week. I can't remember who was who, but he basically said that for him it was not about the achievement or like the scientific, wonder of it. It was literally down to let's beat the fucking Ruskies. Like it was literally that simple of like we've got to do it before them, and he saw it as a kind of military type thing,
all the test pilots were military, weren't they? They were the best pilots taken at the Air Force.
He chose to have a non-romantic kind of view of it and just be straight down the line. It's fair enough.
61, the Russians get Gagarin into space, of course.
But I do like the idea of then, like the fact that he makes this. Okay, it's a decision based on fear, but then we're going to hear exactly what he said in a second. But once he said it, the fact that then that does inspire all this technological, all this industry, all this pushing forward of what can we achieve, like as them as a nation. It did have a sort of positive effect, didn't it? Because everyone had a target.
Yeah.
To an impossible quotes target to aim for.
Yeah.
So it did have a it came from a place of fear, but I think it had a positive outcome.
1961, the airplane had only been around about 50 years, hadn't it?
1908, I think was about 1908. I think was the Wright brothers' first flight.
And the people used to say.
Sorry, that's too late. 1901, something like that. Early 1900s, anyway. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Just over 50 years, though.
Yeah. Well, remember you went from let's say it's 1901, 1903.
1901, that's the Tudor times, isn't it?
The Wright brothers fly like something like 20-something feet. By 1914, you got fighter aircraft. By the Second World War, you got long-range bombers. By the end of the Second World War, you got jet fighters.
It's very impressive. By the end of the 60s,
and then in the 1940s, you start getting rockets. You get the V2. This is where it all goes back to. It goes back to the Second World War and the Nazi rockets scientists.
I'm sure he's going to come up later, isn't he, Mr. von Braun?
Yes, I've got a list of prominent Nazi scientists that were brought over.
Such a magical wonderment of human achievement, but there's a dark, dirty, seedy core.
There is.
I think that's humanity in a nutshell.
Yeah,
probably is.
No, this is me in a nutshell.
Capable of amazing feats and most amazing compassion, and on the other hand, the most
cruel depravity.
The last guy on the list I've got for you is the worst one. So we'll do that at the end.
Should we hear from Jeff K?
Well, 61 that Gagarin goes round. The Americans do it the year later. 63, the Russians the Soviets put the first woman into space.
Did they bring her back?
They did.
Oh, right, okay. That's rare for them.
But they're ahead. They are ahead. And the Americans are like, shit, we've got to do some Eisenhower on the way out. Obviously, you got the Gemini missions up, and which was paving the way. But then JFK came in and was like, no, we've got to do something here. And this is the speech he made, which is 1962.
We meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear, in an age of both knowledge and ignorance. The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. No man can fully grasp how far and how fast we have come. But condense, if you will, the 50,000 years of man's recorded history in a time span of but a half a century. Stated in these terms, we know very little about the first 40 years, except at the end of them, advanced man had learned to use the skins of animals to cover them. Then about 10 years ago, under this standard, man emerged from his caves to construct other kinds of shelter. Only 5 years ago, man learned to write and use a cart with wheels. Christianity began less than 2 years ago. The printing press came this year. And then less than 2 months ago, during this whole 50-year span of human history, the steam engine provided a new source of power. Newton explored the meaning of gravity. Last month, electric lights and telephones and automobiles and airplanes became available. Only last week did we develop penicillin and television and nuclear power. This is a breathtaking pace, and such a pace cannot help but create new ills as it dispels old. So it is not surprising that some would have us stay where we are a little longer, to rest, to wait. If this capsule history of our progress teaches us anything, it is that man in his quest for knowledge and progress is determined and cannot be deterred. We shall send to the moon, 240,000 miles away, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and then return it safely to Earth. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked.
Well, I think I got a little bit emotional then.
I'm teary-eyed, boys.
I don't want to admit
Inspiring stuff, innit?
I got a little emotional.
Because they are hard.
Kennedy said hard.
Well, yeah, it's
If I'd have been
fucking
making that
impressive
speech, I'd have been
stuff,
hard
man.
as well, to be fair.
It's fucking impressive stuff, and you know the swelling music underneath it. For the listener, we were watching a video that had intercut with Kennedy speaking images of the moon landing and
Rockets
inspiration
going off
things,
and
rockets,
yeah!
and, you know. Yes, it's a fucking. I was actually stunned by it, and it didn't go unnoticed by me this week in the listening and watching of all these documentaries of just what a fucking unbelievably like mind-blowing achievement this actually is. And if we'd have been alive, we sort of take it for granted, don't we? But if we'd have been alive at the time, we'd have been absolutely enthralled, like
Of course.
gobsmacked by it. Like
Of course.
just the fact of him saying it, we're gonna go to the moon. You must go.
By the end of the
fuck
decade,
it.
by the end of the decade,
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
you know, we've only just put a man into orbit and we're going to go to the moon. By the end, 8 years. You got 8 years to go to the moon.
Just to say fuck you to Russia.
Get
But
them all-important
still,
missiles.
Doesn't take away from the achievement because there were people who were less enthralled with the whole and not swept up in the whole Cold War thing and were much more excited about the fact that what was going to be brought back from the moon that they could get into science-wise and, you know, samples and rocks and like where's it going to lead us. You know, I'm sure, I have no idea, I didn't research it, but I'm sure people learned stuff.
Of course
from
they did.
the rocks
I
that came
forwarded.
back.
Well, I would
knowledge,
imagine
isn't
that. Well, think about it. The space race is probably responsible for about 90% of our current
Oh
tech,
yeah,
isn't
I know
it?
that, but
mean,
what I
it's-
meant was, I get that the actual mission of going there is responsible for our smartphones and all this shit, but I meant more so like from the actual physical stuff, samples that were brought back, were there any maybe not breakthroughs, but it must have been interesting. We must have
Yeah.
finally
Well, we
got
found
to
out the
learn what
composition of our
yeah.
galaxy, didn't we?
what it's
Of the
made
moon,
of.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah, so-
some people still believe it was made of cheese.
Some people still do,
They
Mike.
probably do, yeah.
Wallace. Gromit. That's two.
But yeah, it's just wow.
Idiots.
It is just wow, and this whole thing just kick-started this technological revolution. I'm sure NASA basically got given like 150 billion to do it over the course of those years, which is a massive amount of money today. It's more, but I heard Brian Cox say that for every dollar they spent on the moon program, on the Apollo missions, $15 came back into the economy. So it was a huge boost as well. And remember, you're talking about the United States at what is, at this point, the 50s to the late 60s, the very peak of its powers.
Greatest Generation. Oh no, that was the World War II ones, wasn't it?
Well, no, because those
This is
boys,
still them.
those boys who did that are the ones planning this. They've been the pilots, they've been the test pilots, they've been the scientists who worked on the Manhattan Project.
The pilots wouldn't plan it.
The
scientists.
pilots actually were all highly educated in terms of aeronautics and aerodynamics, and they had as much input on the design of things as the guys with the PhDs in whatever.
That's a good point, yeah.
You know, they were like, no, I don't like that, change it.
Yeah.
And obviously the Apollo 1, the tragedy of Apollo 1, with the door being unable to open outwards,
We'll get on to
was
that
obviously
later.
a massive design flaw. And Gus Grissom, the guy who probably would have been the first man on the moon, legendary US test pilot, and also been into space as well, or one of the first guys in space, if not I don't think he was the first American in space. He was certainly one of the first. You can correct me on that, listener, sorry. Apollo 13 happened, right? Edgar Mitchell was supposed to go on Apollo 13, and for whatever reason they picked someone else.
Is that the one Tom Hanks?
That's it, yeah. The one Tom Hanks was on in the film.
Okay.
And he says, alright, they said, you're on 14 for definite. And he had, like, when they were doing when they were building the Apollo 14 lander and the command module, all the astronauts around him saying, like, you better not screw this up, right, that needs to be like this, and just launch it, because they knew what happened with 13, they didn't want to happen again.
It's understandable.
You don't want to, I mean, because they came within a fucking whisker of dying out there, and as the guy says in the film, we've never lost an American in space. Well, they hadn't. The Russians allegedly hadn't. Lost all those lost cosmonauts drifting around, who knows?
They lost a dog up there.
They definitely lost. But then again, what about all the chimps that went up?
Well, they're populating a planet somewhere.
I thought they came back super intelligent.
Yeah.
They fell through a time hole and a black hole, and it turns out in some weird Ouroboros type thing, that's how humanity started.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
could be.
Copyright me. No, that would be a good comic book or something, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah, or maybe a series of a franchise, Gus, of films
Copyright me.
that they reboot every now and
Copyright
again.
me. That had no
And do
time holes.
pretentious sequences.
The Planet of the Apes had no time holes, and they didn't seed us, did they? Or did they? I haven't seen them all to comment on this.
The original one, not the original one. The original one was Nuclear War, and the apes.
Did
evolved.
the Russians in those films send two chimps into space who then fell through a
In
time
the
hole?
remake with Marky Mark, they have chimps up there on this space station, and the chimps have flown through time holes and black holes, and that's how
That film was shit now.
it was shit.
So
Copyright
fuck
me.
that film.
Yeah, you got a point.
Copyright me.
Okay, so let's go through the Apollo missions. Now, Apollo 1 was February 21st, 1967. 2 years now, then. 3 years. Kennedy wanted them, and Kennedy's dead at this point, obviously. Kennedy wants them there by the end of the decade. That's the mission goal they've got. Apollo 1, February 21st, 1967.
It's taken them, what was the year of the speech? 61,
62.
So it's taken 5 years just to get to this stage.
Yeah, that's the development of the Saturn V, unmanned test launches.
Yeah.
You got to test the heat entry shields on the modules coming back down. So extensive testing. This is a test as well, but sadly it wasn't flown. All crew members perished on a launch pad fire as a part of a training thing.
Yeah, it's not a good start, is it?
Dodgy
Apollo 1.
wiring.
Apollo 1 and unfortunately Gus Grissom, Ed White and Roger B. Chaffee all lost their lives.
Thank you
Yeah.
for your service.
I mean, the oxygen level in there was high, wasn't it?
It was a very high oxygen level, and there was just a spark in the electrics.
Apparently they died from like asphyxiation.
Well, they say asphyxiation before.
But they want you to know that because they don't want you to think of them burning alive, desperately trying
pounding on the
to
door.
open the door that won't open outwards.
And it was something like because of the pressure that the sudden fire. I think they said today on that document. I think it was something like you'd have to be able to bench press like 350 pounds or more. So I will get the proper figure, but it was a massive amount. They did an experiment on that show as well, and they were like, and he just had like 10 bungee cords wrapped around the door handle. I said, okay, try and open that. You just can't do it. And he goes, that's a small scale thing. That the pressure was just immense. And he says, okay, I'll go around the other side and I'll try and push it. He still couldn't fucking move it.
But the one good thing that did come out of their deaths, if anything, not for them or their families or loved ones, is that everyone sort of upped their game a little bit, didn't they?
Well, that's it. I mean, Gus Grissom was a legend. I mean, he wasn't happy with the thing. He wasn't.
This cannot happen again.
He wasn't happy with the whole thing, Gus Grissom, and you think he did say this programme's going to be the death of me.
Well,
so it was a plugs out test. Began on the morning of February 27th, 1967, and immediately was plagued with problems. First, the crew noticed a strange odour in their spacesuits, which delayed the sealing of the hatch. Then, communication problems frustrated the astronauts and forced a hold in the simulated countdown. And that's when Gus Grissom said, how are we going to talk to you if we're on the moon if I can't talk to you 3 to 4 buildings away? Yeah, he had some sass, did Gus.
Yeah.
He's got to put his ass on the line.
Of course it is. During this hold, an electrical fire began in the cabin and spread quickly in the high pressure 100% oxygen atmosphere. Pressure rose high enough from the fire, the cabin inner wall burst, allowing the fire to erupt onto the pad area and frustrating attempts to rescue the crew. The astronauts were asphyxiated before the hatch could be opened. NASA immediately convened an accident review board overseen by both houses of Congress. While the determination of responsibility for the accident was complex, the review board concluded that, quote, deficiencies exist in command module design, workmanship and quality control. At the insistence of the NASA administrator, Webb North American removed Harrison Storms as command module program manager. Webb also reassigned Apollo spacecraft program office manager Joseph Francis Shear, replacing him with George Lowe. To remedy the causes of the fire, changes were made in the Block 2 spacecraft and operational procedures, the most important of which were the use of nitrogen and oxygen mixture instead of pure oxygen before and during launch, and removal of flammable cabin and spacesuit materials. The Block 2 design already called for replacement of the Block 1 plug-in type hatch cover with a quick release outward opening door, and that is the thing, outward opening.
Well,
so yeah, so they learnt a lot basically.
Shoddy workmanship. They were in a rush.
They were in a rush, and it's like they just. It's something tragically. It's an
It's
oversight.
JFK's fault, and that's why they shot him.
We're never going to solve this fucking problem, and they shot him.
Yep.
Okay. So Apollo 2 and 3 were unmanned and just involved versions of the Saturn V being launched.
Well, at least no one died.
Apollo 4 was the first test flight of Saturn V, placed a command space module in a high Earth orbit and demonstrated the restart. And also qualified the heat shield.
Okay, that was unmanned as well.
Yep, so that's what you want. Unmanned Apollo 5 Earth orbital flight test of the landing module launched on the Saturn 1B demonstrated ascent and descent propulsion and human rated the landing module. So there you go, Apollo 5. We reckon that's safe enough for humans, that landing module.
Yeah, that's what the test determined.
Apollo 6 April 4th 1968. Uncrewed attempted demonstration of translunar injection and direct return abort using the SM engine. 3 engine failures, including the failure of the restart. Flight controllers used SM engine to repeat Apollo 4's flight profile. It was human rated.
The human rated the Saturn V. Obviously worked out them little kinks.
Stage by stage.
Yeah.
This is what I found impressive whilst looking into it this week, of how it all, it's not just like, oh, we'll build this rocket, go to the moon first. It's like, how close to it can get. Can we get into its orbit? Can we go around all the way and come back?
5 years of planning before Apollo 1.
Yeah. I mean, the Saturn V was an incredible piece of machinery, but it was also a very complex piece of machinery. You also think that documentary, The Buffering,
Yeah. Was that
when the astronauts are at the top, and those massive rockets kick off, they're just getting shaken about, and it wasn't good. You can't have that.
Shake to death. Shake and astronaut syndrome.
Shake and bake.
Yeah.
Shake and bake.
That's if it blows up. The Challenger.
Ooh.
I didn't blow it
You had
up.
to,
It
like,
wasn't me.
Terrorist. You're a 1-year-old terrorist.
So they had
My
to
mother
build.
would agree. So then.
They had to build in like a separator tank between the fuels and feed it through at a certain proportion, and then they tried with springs and everything, and eventually just cracked it.
But the astronaut still said nothing could prepare you for how violent that expulsion and that little part of the journey was. Like,
Well, remember when the space shuttle, the later version of this, when its tail cleared the tower, the little tower it's attached to, it goes up. By the time the tail of the shuttle has cleared that, it's doing 200 miles an hour.
fucking hell. Already. Good shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what was next?
Apollo 7.
Apollo 7. So mission overview. It was the first manned mission in the Apollo program to be launched and was a test flight of a newly redesigned module. During the 11-day flight, the spacecraft has run through a number of tests and systems and operated as intended. The mission lasted 163 orbits, with the crew being the first to beam live telecast from orbit, giving millions of people their first view of space.
Yeah, man. I bet there's so many people tripping.
Tripping
Like,
balls.
literally tripping and watching in live. Like, holy shit, man.
It's the infinity of the cosmos.
Oh, man, can you imagine? So intense.
And Apollo 8 was the first flight to take men to the vicinity of the moon. It was a bold step forward in the development of the lunar landing capability.
It was, because they'd just gone from orbit of Earth, suddenly orbit the moon.
Well, the Russians had jumped ahead again, hadn't they?
Yeah.
That's why they got, oh shit, well we've
We've
got
got to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to beat us.
The Russians,
They took that risk.
orbited the moon,
It's
didn't
all
they?
about a risk and reward.
Yeah. The thing is, they've done a lot of testing. They're confident, but it's still for them. It was like, okay, we're going to baby step this.
Yeah.
You know, the Russians were like, send it up, comrade.
So they had to
Yeah, they
respond,
didn't
didn't they?
quite the same safety concerns, did they?
No.
You are dispensable, comrade, and you're not this.
And let's face it, they just keep it a secret. And when it's a success, they beam it back. And when it isn't, they just say it didn't happen.
If you die, we remove you from the photographs. Into the module, comrade. It's fucking true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not conspiracy theory.
I mean,
True.
Lost Cosmonauts was quite an early episode for us, but
Yeah, it was quite a good one. I
it
think.
was very good. And you know, I find that whole fucking thing terrifying.
Yeah, we discussed that on that one. It's the ultimate horrific death being shot off into space, and it's like the opening of the Iron Maiden album, Final Frontier. It's basically what he's singing about, being lost in space and drifted through and comprehending the end and wishing you could talk to them one last time. But hey,
Yeah.
off you go to die.
Or you get rescued by a benevolent alien race.
You wake up in a Brazilian hotel and there's a monkey sucking you off. The whole thing was a dream. Sorry.
So
Back to Apollo 8.
with only minor problems, all spacecraft systems operated as intended and all primary mission objectives were successfully accomplished. The crew performance was admirable throughout the mission. The navigation techniques developed to transfer to translunar and lunar orbital flight proved to be more than adequate to maintain required accuracies for lunar and orbital insertion and trans-Earth injection.
Orbital insertion.
Communications. Communications and tracking at lunar distances were excellent at all times.
Well, on a site, speaking of album titles, I'm thinking of starting a new side podcast where I do like an agony uncle type thing. You know, any sorts of problems, emotional or physical, and I'm going to call the title of the podcast Broken Hearts and Bleeding Sharts.
I don't see... Oh man, they're not going to actually write into you, are they?
Well, hopefully that's the plan. Send in the
dear God.
questions.
Your responses.
Broken hearts and bleeding shards. See, so I can help with the emotional broken hearts
Yeah.
and the physical bleeding shards.
Well, you claim to be a doctor now.
Either way.
Are you claiming to have an MD now?
No, I'll just advise you to contact your local medical professional if it's something above my pay
It's not
grade.
obvious.
But if you're having bleeding shards, you shouldn't be emailing me.
That's what I mean.
It was just a snappy title. You're reading too much into it.
No, we're just pointing at its obvious flaws.
No, you're reading too much
This is
into it.
this
It's
is
just
the Apollo
title.
1 of podcasts.
It's just the title. Just to reel them in.
He'll be big amongst the elderly.
The gay say it, you know you want to say it.
I was going to say women. I don't know what's worse.
Gay women.
Oh.
So anyway, email your health
You know he's
problems.
becoming more conservative nowadays, don't you?
Email your problems. Going through the
I
bullet
can't. No.
We're nowhere affiliated with it.
They are.
We're not.
We
Oh, they are.
denounce it.
I don't want Gaz giving psychological advice to people. Who personally.
Or medical.
Or medical advice to
Why
people. Or giving just generally advice
I
to people.
have got myself through some pretty sticky situations that probably should have required professional medical help, but I didn't go because I was too fucked up. And I got through, so I think I'm actually
Yeah,
quite
with the use of
confident.
class A
niece-
drugs.
You told your niece to take blades to her hands.
That's a
Wolverine
perfectly
shot.
sensible form of self-defence.
Yeah.
Only she's fucking.
If you're in a Thai prison.
It's the streets of Chester, Mike.
Okay.
Or a martial arts
I
expert.
could care that. Miss Chester.
I would be giving perfectly sensible
But you
advice.
got through those problems with the use of some class A drugs
And a lot of luck.
and a lot of luck. And does that qualify you to be giving people real life situational advice?
Still here, baby. Still live
The
and kicking.
combination of luck
Still live and
and
kicking.
illegal substances.
Winning at life. Come on. So I mean, I'm a
That's why
working
this is my
stiff.
life coaching.
I'm a working stiff, admittedly, but yeah. So email your questions in, like I said, cuttingthroughthebullet@yahoo.com,
Is that our email address?
something like that. Broken hearts and bleeding shards.
I don't think that is our email address.
It's a new section, actually. I haven't told you guys yet. It's a new section at the end that we're going to do.
Right.
Email in your questions.
Oh,
Send
this is-
us your feces samples.
Ah, no! Quick, read out Mike's address.
Mike just starts getting
Bags of shit in the door.
I was thinking like, well then like, you know when they do an organ transplant in that little refrigerated case, they take you with them on the plane. It was like one of them coming from Pakistan with a shot in it.
I'm not signing for this.
Sorry Mike, you haven't been taken for the team.
And please could you ask Dr. Gaz the following question. Enjoy your shit and ask him, what can I do about my ex? Well, stop shitting in a plastic box for a start.
Send me in first class.
You sick freak.
You curried here?
Oh, curried.
No, curried.
Oh yeah, sorry, curried shit. Shit, cut that bit out. Fuck, that's probably too dodgy. That's probably too close to the line. Fuck, I've ruined us.
Abort, abort.
Abort. It's a full abort.
I've ruined us.
It's a full abort.
Oh, don't cut that out.
Cut it out.
Get back to
Have I done
the,
Apollo 9?
I stand by my.
I've lost my place now.
If anyone's still listening, we're still doing the moon landing.
Apollo 9 was the first manned flight of the lunar module and tested this portion of the spacecraft for lunar operations. During the 10-day flight, the spacecraft demonstrated various important functions, including a complete rendezvous and docking profile and extravehicular crew operations. All systems performed satisfactorily. The mission completed 151 Earth orbits and carried the largest payload ever placed in orbit.
So we're getting closer.
Yeah. Absolutely, the Americans have now jumped back ahead. A bit of a calculated risk with Apollo 8, but loving it now. Apollo 10. The purpose of this mission was to confirm that all aspects of the lunar landing mission exactly as it would be performed. So they're just going to dry run it, everything except the landing. Additional objectives included verification of lunar module systems in the lunar environment, evaluation of mission support performance for the combined spacecraft at lunar distance, and further refinement of the lunar gravitational potential.
Yep, and then comes the biggie.
The biggie. The mission plan of Apollo 11 was to land 2 men on the lunar surface and return them safely to Earth. The launch took place at Kennedy Space Center Launch Complex 39A on July 15th, 1969 at 08:32 Eastern Standard Time.
69, dude.
Yeah! The spacecraft carried a crew of 3. Mission Commander Neil Armstrong, Command Module Pilot Michael Collins, and Lunar Module Pilot Edwin E. Aldrin Jr. The mission evaluation concluded that all mission tasks were completed satisfactorily. Well done, boys!
Yeah.
That was a satisfactory performance. It was a good solid C+.
Go get him.
Go get him, Tigers. Next time.
Or did we? Did we land on the moon?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
Did we do it when we say we did it?
Of course, we had Apollo 12,
13, 14, 15, 16,
13,
17.
obviously the big one. Well, conspiracy theorists might say there was an Apollo 18 that ran into something on the moon that they didn't want us to see.
But wouldn't we have seen the launch of it at least?
Oh yeah, it would have gone up there, but maybe...
They did it at night.
No.
Sneakily.
Yeah.
We'll just get this rocket up into space when no one's...
Did you see here? No, maybe they saw something up there they weren't supposed to.
We'll deal with that in detail though, won't we, on the next
course.
edition of Cutting Through the Book.
Same as the failed Russian
in the post-truth
mission, maybe, that just crash landed. Who knows? Maybe the Russians did beat the Americans there, but no one was alive to say they did.
Well, so if you're a moon landing conspiracy theorist, I guess, just briefly, I won't go on too much about it, but I guess then that leads me to conclude that they think all of it, like the whole 10 years of it, all these Apollo missions must be fakeries or forgeries or dodgeries.
Well,
in
must
some
be.
way.
I think
If their claim is we've never on the moon, then that means
Then
that...
it all must be bullshit.
You've got
isn't it?
varying degrees of scepticism with this. You've got the guys that say at the hardcore end, we've never been, the Van Allen belt makes it impossible.
I've heard this.
Boom. Never been. To the guys that say, well, maybe the first one was fake. The second one wasn't. Or obviously 13 was a write-off. Maybe 17 was the real one. Maybe 16 was the real one. It kind of varies. I mean, and then there are other people who say, we never went to all, and space is a lie. And you've still got people who deny NASA stuff now. I mean, you get like guys that scour the ISS live feeds of the astronauts inside the... they shouldn't be doing that in space. They're not behaving like they're in space. It's zero gravity. Why are they just sat there? And you're like, well, there's probably a fucking reason, mate. You don't work for NASA.
You don't know about it because you're a fucking cunt on the internet.
Yes.
And not NASA's level scientist.
And that's the thing. That's what gets me with this. Is like they're so keen to put us down. And this is one of mankind's greatest achievements.
Yeah, why try and take
It's
it away?
up there, isn't it? I mean, let's face it.
It's staring. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's like, no, we can't do that. But these are the same fuckers who say that aliens built the pyramids because they don't believe that we can do anything.
But why can't you believe both? Because I do.
Some do.
You know.
But obviously, in their minds, we got to the moon with alien tech.
Yeah. Well.
Or met aliens there, apparently. Apparently, they
had.
had an alien encounter on Apollo 11, on the moon's Armstrong.
We fucking got there because we built a giant bastard rocket with a glider on the end, right? With some talented pilots with balls of fucking steel, you know, who felt confident because there was an entire team people down below helping them and monitoring every little fucking thing.
Oh, fucking down to their
And then
heartbeats.
fired up their fucking little glider thing again and fucking glided it back in, but we're just so precise and good at what they did that they got the precise angle, because if you got the angle of entry wrong, you
it's like a couple of degrees out, something like that.
All that precision and all that from without a bit of trial and error, but you know what I mean? Fucking hell, it's an awesome...
We'll get into this next week.
Yeah,
Conspiracies, won't we?
Yeah.
So what have we got to finish off though? Because this isn't conspiracy, is it? It's just the sort of dark side, I guess, that nobody really talks about. I mean, they do mention his name in these documentaries and stuff, and what these V rockets were first used for in a couple of the ones I listened to, but they don't go into too much detail of it. I did hear one that said his V1 rockets were responsible for thousands of deaths.
Yeah, they were, because no one knew what it was. You'd hear these things in the sky, and then it'd just cut out. Yeah, and then you'd have about 60 seconds before you know if it was falling on you. Warning, yeah. And you'd hear the explosion.
I heard interviews of some British people talking about that in the Blitz, like fresh after it happened, like there was no warning, no nothing. It just boom, just happened. So, but he wasn't pressing the trigger. He invented them, but he wasn't sitting there going, "Ah, fuck you, and you, and you." But
no, but what Werner von Braun did do, he was a major in the SS who used slave labour and concentration camp workers to build his rockets. And they had harsh, brutal conditions of labour.
But hey,
we'll move on to that. There's a bit more detail, but like I say, so basically the Russians and the Americans and the Brits and the French gobbled up as many Nazi scientists as they could. Obviously, the Americans and the Russians got the best ones because the Russians were coming from the east, and the predominantly Allied Western forces were American. The Germans thought the British were on the wane. Yep. Which we were. The Second World War had cost us. The Americans were the rising power. Yeah. Who would you want to surrender to? The British or the Americans? You're going to surrender the Americans. So, as World War II drew to a close, and this is where the Apollo program and the Soviet space program comes from, the United States rushed to collect as many former Nazi scientists as possible through a secret operation called Project Paperclip. This will be an episode on its own one day. As some had been branded war criminals at Nuremberg, the US military whitewashed the backgrounds of many scientists in an attempt to justify hiring them. Knowing that trouble was brewing already with the Soviet Union, these scientists were employed by the US in a wide variety of roles, including at times experimenting with LSD.
Yeah, boy.
Number 1 on the list, Werner von Braun, father of the American space program.
Yeah. You father.
Yeah. He was a member of various German political organisations, including the SS. He was a major in the SS, although a lot of his supporters will tell you that he took SS membership as such and rank to make sure that he got the resources and labour and staff to make his V2 rockets a possibility. He was getting resources from the SS instead of the Wehrmacht or the government, and the SS were quite lavishly provided.
Political calculation.
Yes, that's what people will say. There's a political calculation. I don't agree with that. I just think he did it for advancement.
So, turns out Lionel Messi been mass murdering people, but he gets off on a technicality. Would you welcome him into the Blackburn Rovers side?
Well, yeah, there's that, innit? When you put it like that, let's look at it from their point of view at the time. You got all these Germans, and some of them have got dodgy pass, but
dodgy pass.
They've got atrocious pass.
You know, old Erin is a bit dodgy.
They didn't nick a few things on the back of a lorry.
A little bit woo, a little bit way.
Not off licence back in 1939. No, they were atrocious people, but.
He didn't smash in a bus stop.
Shit in a telephone box. Herman Goering probably did shit in a telephone box with there.
Oh yes.
While wearing stockings and heels, probably.
It's a requirement to rise to the ranks of the SS.
Right, so they've got bad pasts. But they're good 5-10 years ahead of you in terms of this stuff. You haven't got guided rockets. You haven't got night vision.
You know what it is?
You haven't got
it's a cold-hearted
remote-controlled drones.
Exactly.
Of course it is.
Oh, come on. They were being welcomed in.
Of course they were.
These psychopaths at the top of the US government.
Yeah.
And they weren't just, not punished. They were given, the perfect American 50s existence, the perfect home.
Here's your Cadillac, here's your white picket fenced home, your name's John Smith.
They don't give a shit. They just want what they can get, out of them.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? Oh, no, not that salute.
Dr. Strangelove.
I haven't seen it.
You've never seen Dr. Strangelove?
Does somebody sing that in a German accent?
No, but Dr. Strangelove has the wandering hand syndrome.
Ah, yeah.
His hand keeps snapping up in...
What
You
made
know
me
what?
think
You
of
know
that?
about my film pit, Mike. You asked me what it was. I was a bit stumped. I'm going to go with Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, brilliant choice.
Never seen it, so that'll be good.
Kubrick.
I know it's a classic that I should have seen, but it's one of them where normally if we were in a party full of people now, I'd go, oh yeah, Dr. Strangelove. Yes, love that scene. Classic.
Yes,
And
yeah,
then bring
that
up something
film
else, but I admit-
Every film student should watch is Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Rosebud.
Great, innit?
Yes, please tell me more.
Screaming.
Please elaborate.
I
The
did
end
buy it
in
on
the rain.
VHS, but I never got around to seeing it.
Rosebud. No, I never watched that shit. I watched a lot of shit as a film student. I did try and do my due diligence, but some of it was a fucking slug. Well, you know
Yeah.
you're watching it for watching's
I
sake.
just studied
and just
Shane,
like, Shane, yeah.
Shane?
But I like
the
Cowboys.
Western.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I'm not familiar with that one. I've heard of it, but
Alan Ladd in it.
Try Kez. You ever seen Kez?
no, because they appealed to me.
Watch that on a dark,
Yeah.
depressing Tuesday afternoon. You'll feel great.
They kill his
You
cat.
killed him, you bastard! You
Yeah.
bastard! You killed him!
Yeah. That's why I'd never watch Marley and Me. It's that whole... I don't want
Oh,
to...
fuck that, yeah. I
That's
know
why I
the
don't
dog dies
depress
and I ain't gonna
myself,
watch
yeah.
it. Yeah, not going to put myself through that.
No.
Same reason I don't watch horrors.
I stick to stuff that just makes me feel good or feel happy. I don't want to...
Or aroused,
Or aroused. Let's not forget that.
to be honest.
Sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, back to Project Paperclip. Another films. After Project Paperclip, Von Braun became the Director of Developmental Operations Division of the Army Ballistic Missile Agency. Basically, they had some German V2s, which they painted white, and wrote US Army on the side of.
Fair play.
That was the only difference.
Wow.
While there, he developed the Jupiter C rocket, which was used to launch America's first satellite. He was also credited as being instrumental in leading the moon mission, which he was. He designed the Saturn V from the ground up, virtually. Incredibly clever man, however you want to fucking portray him.
Was he personally convicted at Nuremberg?
I don't think he was, no.
Did he actually kill anyone?
Not personally that we're aware of.
Well,
But the conditions in his Peenemünde factory
just
was,
playing devil's advocate.
you know, little more than a concentration camp, except they were assembling rockets.
Plus, he'd also had contact with some of the Palladians and other terrestrial visitors, extraterrestrial visitors. So he was an important dude.
Well, if you watched, I watched an Ancient Aliens episode once, where this guy, you know, Werner von Braun died in the, 80s, I think. And
He
this
died
guy,
a very happy, peaceful man.
I'm not sure actually. Well, he died in his bed. He died in a bed instead of being shot by a firing squad. Let's go that way.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you know, I met Werner once. I met Werner von Braun once, and I said, hey, how'd you get that massive technological leap? And he's like, oh, we had help. We had help. And he's like, oh, where from? And he goes, oh, and he just kind of pointed up. And he goes, oh, fuck off. He didn't say that. He's not telling you that in the NASA library.
Or he's just
You
fucking
just met
with
some
you.
dude.
Come on, if you're Werner von Braun,
yeah.
you'd fuck with these
Yeah, I
people.
fucking would actually.
I would all the time.
Then again, I also want to credit my own fucking work rather than blaming ET for it, or thanking ET, or crediting ET. Anyway,
All I'm
Maybe
going to
he's
say
thanking
is
God.
that a lot of scientists, I imagine, I don't know for sure, but I imagine fled Germany and said, I'm not going to work under this regime.
well, most of the guys that fled Germany ended up the physicists ended up at the Manhattan Project originally.
Oh, they just keep getting better, don't
Yeah,
they?
doesn't it?
There was a lot of Jewish physicists,
just saying
some
that
prominent Jewish physicists.
He didn't have to stay there.
Try saying
He
that.
could have defected, couldn't he?
Well, yes.
But he continued working for the Nazis all the way to the end.
Yeah, because they were throwing the resources at him, I suppose.
I did it
So
for the love of the rockets,
And
not
he
the
was a-
hate of the Jews.
Yeah, pretty much that's kind of his Amira's defence of him.
Well, he was.
If
in
there's
it
a
for
boy
the-
you dreamt of building a rocket to go to the
Erotic.
moon.
Well, they are very phallic.
They
But that's
are.
because, like that comedian who I can't credit because I've forgotten, when people talk about rockets being phallic, try building a fanny-shaped rocket and see where it'll go. It's not our fault that physics dictates that flying machines psychologically resemble cocks. Sorry.
Yeah, can't do nothing about that.
Go over it.
Next guy is Werner Dahm. To his credit, he opposed the Nazis and resisted joining the party until given no other option. His research helped lead to the development of supersonic wind tunnels for the German rocket program, as well as major advancements in the understanding of aerodynamics. After Paperclip, Dahm made huge contributions to the US space race. He worked on the Saturn V booster rocket, aerothermodynamics and liquid hydrogen propellant systems. For his work, he became chief of the Aerophysics Division at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, and eventually became chief aerodynamicist at the NASA Center. Clever dude.
Yeah.
Who's this next guy? Hermann H. Kurzweg. Kurzweg was chief engineer, chief researcher and deputy director for the V2 rocket program. He also helped design supersonic wind tunnels, as well as those carrying out aerodynamic research on the anti-aircraft rocket Wasserfall. The Germans had an anti-aircraft rocket.
Wasserfall.
Yeah. They also had guided missiles.
I'm going to translate Wasserfall to waterfall.
Exactly right.
Yep.
Wow.
After Paperclip, Kurzweg became technical director at the Naval Ordnance Laboratory in Maryland, where he continued his aerodynamics and aeroballistics research. Later, he became a chief researcher at NASA, investigating aerodynamics and flight mechanics. Konrad Dannenberg. Dannenberg worked closely with von Braun, helping develop the V2 rocket. He also helped organise and launch the first object ever to be sent into space by humans. After Paperclip, Dannenberg continued to work closely on his former subjects. He helped the United States to produce rocket engines and missiles. Eventually, he became deputy manager of the Saturn program, which focused on creating engines for launching both satellites and space shuttles into space.
Wow.
Nothing too dodgy so far. These guys, well, apart from von Braun was in the SS. The other guy who was made to join the party.
Too dodgy.
These guys were, just scientists, really. But it does get worse.
That's it.
Yes. Kurt Henrik Dubus. Dubus was another member of the SS who helped work on and produce V2 rockets for the Nazis. He was closely associated with von Braun and responsible for leading the testing of the V2 rocket. He became a prime asset for NASA. His accomplished work on a variety of programs, including launching satellites and the eventual moon mission. He was the first ever director of the Kennedy Space Center, another SS member.
Welcome.
Walter Robert Dornberger. He was a major general in the army of the Third Reich, senior artillery commander, and had personal contact with Hitler. His real passion and skill lay in engineering, and he was foundational in the development of rockets for the Nazis. You can hear a police siren going off in the background, people. Listeners, I do apologise. We do
Windows
live in
are
Telford.
open because it's the middle of summer.
Yes.
So you've come to expect this level of,
I'm not sitting here in a
What do you want
sauna.
from us? We can't afford a studio. We're keeping it real. We're a working class podcast.
Yeah. Fight the power. After the war, Dornberger continued his engineering research to the US. He spent time developing guided missile systems for the US military before becoming the vice president of the Bell Aircraft Corporation. At Bell, he developed Bell's Rascal, the first guided nuclear air-to-surface missile.
Thanks,
Nazi
dude.
develops nuclear air-to-surface missile.
Cheers, broski.
Eberhard Friedrich Michael Rees. Rees was another researcher on the development of the V2 for the Third Reich, although his passion allegedly always lay with space. After the war, he developed ablative heat shields for NASA and became the Deputy Director of Development Operations for the Army Ballistic Missile Agency. And he directed the Lunar Roving Vehicle Program. Right, so Ernst Stuhlinger.
He invented the cool little buggy thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He started his career as a Nazi soldier. He fought in the Battle of Moscow and the Battle of Stalingrad before being shifted into research. Eventually he came to work on guidance systems under von Braun. After Paperclip, he was brought in as director of the Advanced Research Projects Division of the Army Ballistic Missile Agency. He also contributed greatly to the space race. He's one of the pioneers of electric propulsion, and he also worked on the initial phases of the Hubble telescope.
Obviously, very clever man.
They are, but their cause was rotten. This guy is the worst one.
Who's
Herbertus Strughold.
He sounds like a cunt.
Strughold has been accused of participating in extensive human experimentation under the Third Reich, though it has never been proven. The experiments he allegedly oversaw included performing surgery with anaesthetic and depriving people of oxygen in vacuum compartments, as well as human experiments related to hypothermia. These experiments were meant to determine the effects of high altitude and supersonic flights on human beings. After the war, Strughold helped to pioneer the field of space medicine. He was vital in the investigation into the effects of weightlessness on people, as well as overseeing the building of a space cabin simulators. At NASA, Strughold also played a central role in designing the pressure suit and the onboard life support systems used by Gemini and Apollo astronauts. Well, he's the worst guy, because even though he allegedly did all those weird human experiments, if he's going on to develop all that for NASA, he did all them experiments.
Yeah.
Didn't he? Let's face it.
No smoke, then fire.
That's the way the British justice system works. So yeah, there you have
So
it.
would the Americans have won the space race to the moon without the Nazis?
Well,
no.
remember, the Russians also had
How did
Nazis.
they?
The Americans just got the best ones, because, let's face it,
Better paychecks.
better paychecks, and also, your country, in 1941, steamrolled its way through Russia, shooting a lot of people.
Or do you want to go to the new
Right.
groovy, funky
So when the Russians
USA?
retaliate and come firing back across Eastern Europe, they start doing the same to you and your people. While the Americans and the Brits are taking a nice, slow, leisurely advance without the Rhine, they're pushing in. You're fleeing west because you know you're going to be treated better by the Western Allies, especially America, the new kids on the block who've just become a superpower. They've got money, their economy's booming, the Brits are on the decline.
Elvis!
Bit early for Elvis.
Bill Haley and his comets!
Again, too early.
Something American!
Glenn Miller.
I guess.
Frank Sinatra.
Okay.
Ooh,
But again,
he was singing back in the 40s and the Second
wasn't
World
he?
War.
when the fuck has factual accuracy ever
No.
mattered? Elvis was funnier. You know what I
Robert
meant.
Johnson.
You bloody
No,
historian.
this is Glenn Miller. Glenn Miller's the most famous
Robert
American.
Johnson the boxer?
Wasn't he the
No, he
guitarist?
was dead by that point.
Oh. Anyway, you get my frickin' point. America, popsicles, Coca-Cola,
Well,
sunshine,
Chevrolet,
groovy
Ford,
parties, surfing,
you know.
Hawaii 5-0.
white
Or
picket
the
fence.
freezing wastes of Siberia.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the
I
Russians.
like the rock and
remember,
roll music.
remember, the Russians were ahead for a long time. They did get some really good guys. The Americans just got better guys. We got some guys. The French got some guys.
It's like-
We didn't get great ones because the Americans already snapped them up because everyone wanted to go to America.
I'll make another football
And let's face it-
analogy. America with the Man City of like the post World War II. They like had the, we'll make the biggest signings because we got the biggest bucks to throw around. We've
Yeah.
got the most to offer.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
exactly.
And in a way, look, I'm not excusing it, but I can't. I understand it completely. It's like
Yeah, but
at that level, people make cold, emotionless decisions based
you
on
can't really make
pure.
a football analogy there, can you? Because Kevin De Bruyne didn't do experiments on people without anaesthetic.
He didn't put people in vacuums to choke them from oxygen.
Well, Kevin Keegan might have. Never trust a man with a perm.
Pep Guardiola's never performed surgery without
You
anaesthetic.
don't know that. You can't say that. But you get my fucking point. America were buying up all the talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like some football club that's been taken over by a sheik. That was my analogy. But I could see why they did it. It's just cold, logic, hard. Then at that level, nothing surprised me at that level. They make decisions like that. People don't like to think about it, but they make cold, hard, emotionless decisions.
Yeah.
Because they're like, look, if these scientists are going to go anywhere, if they go to the enemy, if they go anywhere that isn't us, that's a fuck up on our part because they're going to go somewhere.
Well,
These
not
are
if they were
brilliant men.
hanged, If they'd been found to be doing something illegal.
It's alright. We just
They're
don't
on our
talk
side
about
now.
it. But think about it, this didn't come out till like the 90s, did it? So,
Yeah. It wasn't-
well, all this NASA stuff and everyone's watching it, the biggest TV audience live, and like, oh my god, one giant step for man. Nobody's sat there thinking, oh, we got there, Nazi, that's a Nazi-powered rocket, that. No one knew that.
Hey, you
till
know
the
them
90s,
Nazis
so-
I fought against, kids?
Yeah.
Look at that, they built that rocket.
Yeah, imagine that, the WW2 veteran with the tears streaming down his cheek watching the moon landing, just out of pure pride for his nation, the nation he went and fought for and gave up everything
Yeah.
to go and defend.
And you're only in
And he
your
managed to
40s
come
at that
back.
point as well,
And he
really.
managed to come back and you got the tear rolling down your cheek watching this moon landing to then know that, oh yeah. Some of the top guys, the only reason it happened is because it's basically a Nazi-run thing.
Device angle.
Yeah, maybe, you know, you're that World War II vet sat at home with that tear rolling down your cheek. Oh my God, I'm so proud of my country. Your son's in Vietnam at that point.
Oh shit, yeah. Oh yeah, I don't know. My history's terrible. So did that line up? Did it? Oh yeah,
No,
it did.
because
It talks about it in the documentary.
You've got this massive,
troubling time for America.
you've got this space program going on, and everyone's being national
It was a unifying force.
And then you've got Vietnam going on the other side, where your kids are getting drafted. But hey, we've got a man on the moon. We're the top dogs, but hey, my son's in Vietnam now. I don't know if he's gonna come back or not. No, but I think the space race.
It makes me feel proud, and I'm not even American.
I think the space race is well, it kick-started the 20th century, didn't it? It's
as races go, it was a pretty cool one.
As everything we've got now, we pretty much got from this.
Well, because the president.
I mean,
set
why
that
was
hell of an achievement?
Why is computer power doubling every year because of this?
And the aliens.
Well, and the aliens. Well, they had basic alien tech, didn't they? Let's face it.
Your basic alien tech, your Mega Drives, your SNESes. And then
That's the thing. I mean, the computer on that was immense. Now we've got laptops and tablets. The reason computer power was needed was to power this sort of stuff.
It's a bit like a lesser scale. The same thing's been happening, but it's not quite as in the press and stuff. With the Mars thing, obviously someone set a goal, haven't they? If we want to get to Mars, and all this stuff is going on, working towards it. But back then they were rock stars, and it was big news.
Yeah,
and it was,
of course.
And now I think we're kind of, I don't know. I think we take it for granted a little bit.
Yeah,
I really do. Some of the majesty of it has come back to me this week through researching it and just realising this was like proper boys' own type,
cutting
adventure type stuff. But all that cutting edge stuff, yes, definitely, and all these people working towards that. But they were still at the heart of it, just some pilots with big balls, just like fuck it, yeah.
Or was it a complete hoax and we never left the Earth?
Well, we'll get into that next week. Won't we?
We will. We got all the conspiracy theories coming next week, or certainly a fucking chunk of them.
Oh yeah, I'll try and find the major reasons why people think we didn't go, and some of the more outlandish, silly ones. So if you've enjoyed this part, you'll want to hear the next one, dear listener.
Please listen. And also, if you'd like to like us on Facebook, that'd be nice. We're cutting to the ball in the post-truth apocalypse. We'll deal you some memes.
Cutting through the ball in the post-truth apocalypse. Yes, and mid-show plug. Also, go on YouTube and subscribe to Sewage Pipe Gaming. Thank you. So yeah, what's next, boys? Sorry about that.
Right,
Didn't
so
happen.
we got some break. That's the moon landing. We'll take a break and then we'll do some weird news.
Yep.
Let's get the boys' views on this week's weird news.
Alright, so let's end with some weird news, and we got full Alex this week?
Yep.
Fantastic. So I'll take this one. Today I learned The Offspring's lead singer is a legitimate doctor searching for a HIV cure.
Wow.
Oh, I knew he must, because he had a degree in marine biology. So he must have gone back to study even more. So he strikes me as one of them dudes, probably in between tours. He's now got a master's on top of his degree. But anyway, the article will probably tell us, so I will shut up.
Yeah. They say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and they're usually right for the most part. For this particular instance, the book is actually a 175-page dissertation, and the cover has the words, by Brian Holland on it. The reason why this little dissertation is incredibly interesting is because it's all about looking for a cure for HIV, and Brian is none other than Dexter Holland, the lead singer of seminal punk rock band The Offspring.
Yeah.
That's right, the frontman of the band behind iconic 90s songs such as Self-Esteem and Pretty Fly for a White Guy, not the best one of theirs, is a legit doctor on the lookout for a HIV cure in his spare time.
Wow.
Awesome.
Before Dexter became one of the 1990s leading punk rockers, he was originally pursuing his PhD in molecular biology at the University of Southern California.
That's why I was confused.
Yeah.
Sorry, molecular biology makes a lot more sense. Sorry, but
I want to see. I'm picturing dreadlocked blonde Dexter Holland at college now, studying for a doctorate. Because he had the locks when he was first in the Offspring, wasn't he?
He must have been dripping in ladies. He was big, tall, sexy, dreadlock dude, super smart, and he's also, oh yeah, another weekend, my totally fucking rocking band is going to be at this club, like.
What a twat! Hate him!
Dexter.
I hate him! He's got everything and I hate him!
God, I love the Offspring
So
back
do
in
I.
the day though, man. I was a big... Saw him live 3 times in my life. Varying stages of good, but never bad. If you know, if that makes sense.
99... We were at Reading,
Yeah.
Year past our GCSEs, Gaz. I went to
Oh,
Reading
awesome.
as a treatment, as a treat.
That's ace.
And a treatment.
And treatment, yeah.
And Chili Peppers headline, and the Offspring were second headliners. I think it was a Sunday.
Chili's was shit.
Chili's was shit.
Offspring were amazing.
Offspring were great. Massive bottle fight. You can still see it
Awesome.
sometimes on
Yeah.
they do festival flashbacks late at night.
Yeah.
Biggest bottle fight I've ever seen. Mike had his neck broken at
Did,
his
mate.
face.
You know the big 5 litre bottles? Yeah, one of them, 3/4 full, landed just past my head,
Oh,
landed in my feet. I was
shit.
like, what the fuck?
That would have hurt.
Yeah, so I just picked up and went,
Somebody else.
And probably killed someone. Yeah.
Them's the rules.
Them's the rules. Them's the gig rules. You're gonna throw it, prepare to get it thrown. You miss, you're dead.
It's like a claymore bomb of fucking bottle fights.
In all fairness, Ad lost a lot of
water
water. It
cooler.
wasn't as full when you threw it.
no, it wasn't. I'd lost a bit.
I think maybe just
But-
crippled somebody.
I also remember Dexter Holland coming on stage, and it was they were playing a Backstreet Boys song,
Oh, and then he beats the shit out
and
of
he
the
beats the
dummies.
shit at the cardboard.
Yeah,
They were cardboard
yeah.
because of the baseball bat, and just
That's
start
it.
beating
I
the shit out of
remember
them.
Yeah.
And then they played Pretty Fly for a White Guy or something.
Good on him.
Whatever, it was fun. But as the Offspring quickly became popular, he shrugged his shoulders and put his studs on hold to ride the punk rock wave. Because why the hell not? But while being in a band that was his day-to-day vocation, science wasn't too far of his mind. Whether this is true or not, I don't know, but remember the lyric, "Keep 'em separated" in the song "Come Out and Play"?
I do.
That was inspired by his experience in a lab involving keeping 2 liquids separated so they can cool down. Do you know about that?
I thought it was more about gangs of kids beating the shit out of each other at school.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
But it wasn't until 2017, some 8 albums and 40 million records and countless concerts later, that Dexter finally got that pesky PhD. Wow.
Good on him.
Good, yeah, man. Fair play, Dexter. I hope you find that cure.
Yep.
Let's face it, it would be pretty awesome if the lead singer of the Offspring completely cured HIV.
Certainly would.
Like,
Remember,
wow.
it would mean people would be
I'd go out
listening
and buy
to-
Smash again just,
Well, yeah.
just as a tribute.
People would be listening to Come Out and Play in like 300 years' time because of it would be attached to. Well, his statue will play it when you go visit his statue. Yeah, go on, Dexter. You gotta keep them separated. Yeah, go on then.
Right, you want to do the next one? This happened this week. This is a brand new one.
Oh yeah, this is horrific.
Body falls from plane and lands in garden as flight comes in to land at Heathrow. Holy shit.
It landed next to a
didn't hear about
sunbather
this.
apparently.
Yeah?
Sunbathing in your back garden, mate.
The frozen body of a stowaway.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Right
Fell
next
from
to
a
you.
passenger jet and plunged more than 3,000 feet into a small garden, missing a sunbather by just 3 feet.
That's over there.
That's
no,
it.
it's there.
It's
where you are on the
it's
sofa.
in comparison, it's where you are sat next to
I'd
Gaz.
love it if he was a Brexit supporter.
No, Mike.
But what I want to know is, did the body explode like a balloon?
No, but the pictures, the fucking concrete path it landed on has got a fucking small crater in it. It's
But it
cracked
didn't
the
explode
concrete.
'cause he was frozen.
Yeah, it exploded. Yeah, there was
Oh.
blood on the fence. And
So the
everything.
person who saw it is traumatised for life
Oh, fuck
forever,
yeah.
and nothing can ever take that away. No amount of counselling.
Yeah, basically the guy who's trying to smuggle himself in
This is tragic.
climbed
landing
into the
gear.
fucking wheel bay of the plane, hid there. Wheels go up. He's in the hold. It's not pressurised. He freezes to death.
Fuck.
They come into land, drop the wheels. Woo, frozen corpse. 3,000 feet down.
Well, it suits him, serves him right because he was silly to try it, but I'd feel sorry for the sunbather. That is where my... Well, I'm with the family of the frozen dead man, splattered man,
Well, she'd have worn a hat.
but...
Hat, gloves and scarf. There's the picture. There's the impact crater.
Oh, fuck.
Crack the fucking paving and
Yeah.
path and everything.
But at least his fucking spleen isn't there and all that, like. Because I always wonder, like.
I think they cleaned that up.
Oh man.
That is horrific.
Could have been worse because had it fallen 300 yards away, 2 seconds later, would have fallen onto a packed Clapham Common.
Jesus. If you haven't got worried about frozen shit and piss coming from it, you got frozen bodies.
It says the stowaway who was wearing a blue shirt and denim jeans landed.
See, no
face
hat, no
down.
scarves, no gloves.
I just like that. He landed face down on the lawn. Just think about it. The velocity from 3,000 feet.
Would that be
face
terminal?
planted into the fucking lawn.
It was, hang on, the quote there.
Oh, read that line.
Hang on, he had all of his clothes on and everything. I had a closer look and so there's blood all over the walls of the garden.
I knew it, he would have
Right?
exploded.
His head was not in a good way. I realised immediately that he had fallen.
Oh, you reckon? No shit, Sherlock.
He had been sunbathing and he
What
landed.
told you that? The crater or the exploded head?
He was sunbathing and he landed 1 metre away from him. 1 metre.
Oh my god.
We're all sat about a metre away from each other in a triangle. I mean, and all of a sudden, a corpse plummets through the roof of Mike's flat. We're on the top floor. Hits the microphone table and keeps on plummeting. While we're splattered with blood and entrails.
You owe me fucking 2 microphones and a fixing desk, you frozen dead prick. Somebody grab his wallet, I'm ringing his mum.
I think his phone's gone at this point.
Oh well. Fuck me, that's horrific. On
just a
every
bit.
level.
Miss.
A man so desperate he would sneak
I know.
onto an airport runway, climb into the landing gear of a plane. And the tragic thing is, apparently he had food and water with him, so the fucking dumb fucker expected to make it. This will be fine. Okay, mate. Yeah, and then he froze to death on the way, like you say. Fuck me. Terrific. But, okay, next
He
news
just
story.
thought he'd do a bit more research before he launched on his elaborate plan of stuff. I mean, he's got to get through airport
Yeah,
security.
he's desperate and he ain't
Yeah,
thinking.
all right. Yeah, but, no, come on. I'll be alright in that fucking hold.
Maybe he's never seen films or had the
Yeah.
internet, I don't know.
We don't know, do
Oh,
you?
come on.
Gotta be pretty desperate to run onto
Yeah.
a runway and climb up a fucking
Yeah,
plane.
you have, and to get past security and everything, you know, you'll be great, but...
He
fucking
might, have
hell,
seen the
come
movie,
on.
he might have seen the movie Commando where Arnold does it and drops from the plane.
Well, if
and
only his learning tool was Commando,
Mm.
if his only learning tool was Commando, then alright, fair enough. But he should never, he's not Arnie.
Oh, thank
Chester's
you.
just knocked the microphone off again, thank you Chester.
Let off some steam, Bennett!
You know, but he should realise he's not Arnie.
You said you'd kill me last! I lied. Woo! Fucking classic.
Moving on then from
Yeah.
that tragic story.
Horrific.
It is.
Okay. Jersey is being terrorised by 100 strong gangs of feral chickens waking up locals and chasing joggers.
This is the British island of Jersey.
I've been there, it's amazing.
Never been.
Gorgeous. Right. Residents, it's an island hanging off the bottom end of Britain that's closer to France technically than it is to Britain, and it's hotter than Britain and it's lovely. But anyway, residents have been making complaints about the birds, which have also become a traffic hazard. Jersey has been terrorised by hordes of feral chickens which have been waking up the locals, damaging gardens and even chasing joggers. Residents have been making complaints about the birds, which have also become a traffic hazard. 2 small culls have been carried out, but they continue to cause chaos, the Environment Minister has admitted. It is believed the chickens were once pets which were abandoned before rapidly breeding. They now roam the British island in 100 strong groups. There are no foxes in Jersey, which means the chickens are running around unchecked without a natural predator.
So you're out walking to work,
Mm-hmm.
nice sunny day,
Oh,
island of Jersey, oh life's good. Nice.
Innit?
And all of a sudden, out the bushes, down that little country road with both sides, front and back of you, 50 chickens to the rear,
An army.
50 chickens to the front, just surrounding you. You're like, oh shit. And they're
Clever
feral.
girls.
They're clever girls. And they're feral.
100. Imagine
100
4
of them.
chickens. Now 100 chickens, mate.
I can kick my way through 4 chickens.
Yeah, 100 is a psychotically terrifying amount of squealing, squabbling chickens running at you. It would sound like the very centre of hell itself, 100 squabbling chickens, and they're chasing you down a little country lane in Jersey. It's not a big island. You know what I mean? This is the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah.
It ain't good.
But like you say, though, put on a pet-proof suit and some steel-toed boots and just fucking go out and start volleying them as hard as you possibly can.
But then the animal cruelty side of me comes into play. Like, oh man.
Yes, they are.
I mean, alright, if it's me or the chickens are going down.
Well, they are proposing a cull.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was reading it.
Oh, twit chickens, aren't they? They're fast.
We are in a situation where we've got animal lovers on the one hand, and we've got those who are experiencing a nuisance on the other. I can't pretend to sit here and say I have got an answer to that.
That was Environment Minister John Young.
Well, a total of 35 chickens, is that it?
Yeah.
Were killed in the first 2 culls carried out by a private pest controller. Mr. Young said his department had received 40 complaints. That's more than the number of chickens killed for those keeping score at home. Received 40 complaints about the birds so far this year.
Feral chickens!
Local authorities on the island say they are fighting a tough battle and have urged people not to feed the chickens as it encourages them to breed.
No, that's the same for me.
William Peggy, Director of Environment for the States, said efforts to come up with a plan to tackle the issue had been hampered by the loss of the state's vet. I told you, small island. But with an interim replacement now appointed, discussions could take place to find a practical solution. A fucking shotgun. He added that they did not know where and when people were abandoning chickens, making it hard to crack down on it. Under nuisance legislation, landowners are liable to dispatch chickens if they are causing a nuisance, he said. An action could be taken if a feral chicken was being fed in a way that causes a nuisance. Feral chickens are not protected under the animal welfare law because they do not belong to anybody.
Poor chickens. They're saying that I don't want to be pet to death by 100 chickens.
Exactly.
100 pet to death and then eaten by 100 feral chickens.
Kill them in a way that allows them to be consumed afterwards.
Yes.
So don't run over them with a van, let's say.
But you like running things over with vans.
A horde of 100 chickens just ploughing into it.
You've got a hard on.
Pretty horrific. No, I wouldn't enjoy that at all. I've hit birds in the van before as well. It makes you feel like shit, but you're like, well, sorry dude. Not like I can do.
I was in a car that hit a pheasant.
Oof. Big plume of feathers.
Yeah.
Fucking,
Hit the window screen at
Ooh.
60 miles an hour.
Wow.
that's not good.
No.
Scared the shit out of you, doesn't it?
Fucking did.
Makes people crash. It does. People
Yeah,
like shit
but-
themselves and flip the car over. But on that lovely happy note, I think that concludes this week's Weird Fucking News.
Can I call a piss break?
Of course you can.
Thank you.
We're civilised here.
Allegedly. Okay, so we're back and we're going to play Full Alex, the favourite game show on this flat, where Mike finds us some couple of random weirdos over the internet and we put them against the arch saint of insanity himself, Alex Jones, and we decide who has gone more Full Alex this week. And remember, you can go a little bit Alex, you can go a quarter Alex, half Alex, 3/4 Alex, but never go full Alex.
Were you trying to get crazy with this, eh? Don't you know I'm loco?
So who's up first, Mike?
First up, we have Mike Heath.
Mike Heath, having a
Newcomer.
newcomer.
Says that homosexuals are worse than murderers.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
Yep.
Gather here every year not to celebrate sodomy. We gather to remember and celebrate God's definition of marriage. St. John Chrysostom affirmed that these homosexuals are worse than murderers, since it is better to die than to live after such a shame. The murderer separates the soul from the body, while this one destroys the soul along with the body. And homosexuals destroy not only their own souls, they also destroy the soul of a nation. Democracy is at the heart of what's the way politically for America. Our founders decided to bake voting into every layer of the American cake. We must never forget the diabolical and totalitarian nature of the Obergefell versus Hodges attack on our civilization. Over 30 of our states had voted by significant majorities to define marriage God's way, many times choosing to amend their state constitutions. The vote of just one Jezebel on this appointed, unelected body of 9 overturned the decision of tens of millions of American citizens. If this isn't totalitarianism, I don't know what is. Americans don't trust their institutions. It would be imprudent to do so. This wicked, unconstitutional decision gives all of us significant cause to deeply question the jurisprudence of this court. These people are black-robed terrorists making war on everything that is good, true, and beautiful. Either we the people stop them, or America's republic will disintegrate. God help us.
Wow. Wow, well there was some biblical insanity more than anything.
We must get...
Religious prick, basically.
Yeah. Links that homosexuals are worse than murderers because homosexuals not only destroy the soul or something.
Yeah, the soul of a nation.
Yeah.
The soul of a nation, apparently. According to him. According to Mike Heath.
Fuck him. I mean him, not the homosexuals.
No.
Well,
Well,
unless you're
whatever.
homosexual, yes, then fuck.
Do it.
Oh my god. Moving on. Abort.
Abort. It's a full abort. Who's next then?
Next up, Lance Wallnow says Jezebel witchcraft is poisoning the minds of Americans against Trump.
Is it though? Or is it Trump? I'll let him speak. What am
I think America is in a Jezebel witchcraft, meaning that there's a witchcraft veil over the minds and perception of the masses, perpetuated by the false prophecies coming through the media mountain.
Yes.
So it's like there's your prophets of Baal, and they are speaking constantly lies, and the average Christian, God bless us, we're not complex creatures, and we're working, and we've got busy. So I have sons in my family. I have friends of mine. They go, Dad, don't worry about me. I get a balanced perspective. I don't listen to just one source. I listen to MSNBC and CNN, and I go, son, 95% of the media is owned by the left. You can't be listening to 4 different outlets that think you're getting a true story. They're all
Same
lies.
thing.
The same narrative.
So here's what I'm thinking. We're going to pray, and we're going to do things this year. I think God raised you up to apostolically and prophetically break through in the media realm that veil, because it's some false prophets are in the media, and God's put a burden on you to be courageous. You have a sense of the future, as very few people have, and you're a media titan yourself in the spirit realm. I think God's raised you up for us to be able to pierce the veil off of the minds of our people. And I believe we're going to see millennials will come out of the fog, and when they do, they'll see that Jesus is actually the most revolutionary figure that they've ever seen. We're going to see the manipulated race wars is one of the great greeds that I've got. Because you see that Latino and the Hispanic community, if they're told the president's a racist by media, and he doesn't, and they're told these things, then it's poisoning the well. But this is what the devil does. In the book of Acts, it says when the apostolic message went into a town, that the unbelieving Jews went in and poisoned the minds of the brethren. Meaning, they literally, this is as age old as the book of Acts. The media will try to poison you about this man. And if you don't know him and you just believe that, it poisons the mind. So we're taking the poison out. We're literally healing culture right now.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yes, it is incredible, darling.
Yeah.
I agree.
I love how they just get everything so backwards ass.
Yeah, 95% of the media is owned by the left.
Yeah.
Is it though?
No, it's owned by corporations.
Usually right-wing leaning.
Yes, exactly.
Because they're not paying so much corporation tax under the right-wing government they've installed.
Amazon.
Well, you've only got to look at the Sun has effectively got every
Starbucks.
government in this country. The Sun has got every prime minister elected since the 80s in Thatcher. I mean, it's a massive public opinion sway.
Of course it is.
Apart from the ones when they got Blair in.
The job it's meant to have is hold people in power accountable.
Of course.
What it does is it works for the people in power against our own fucking
best interests.
Yeah, it's fucking unbelievable.
That's why people are going to vote for Boris one day.
Ugh.
Or Hunt even. Sorry, Hunt.
Right, what's the man? Him. fucking self got to say?
Epic Alex Jones It Clown Rant.
Okay.
Remember the film It?
I do.
Yeah.
See what Alex
Never
has
seen
taken.
it.
Is this a movie
Well, you
review?
because you're afraid of clowns.
Yeah, so that's why I'm not going to watch fucking It.
I think you're going to agree with everything Alex says tonight. Then.
Yeah, in foresight, yes. Let's see what he has to say.
Let me get into the more contemporary news. Let's set all of their plans for all of us that are already well afoot, that we're already in the quicksand up to our chins. And they're there on the bank just saying, go on under, it's fun. You'll like it. There's carnival rides down here, just like it says. There's popcorn, there's clowns, there's some lions and tigers and bears and elephants and tight ropes, and there's a bearded lady and a guy gets shot out of a cannon. Just take my hand. You see how good it's been so far. Just come into the basement. Let me put the handcuffs on, please. Just come on. You want your boat back, don't you, Georgie?
What the?
I'll float down there in the water. Oh, you're gonna float too. You're gonna... Yeah, we love you. We're liberal.
We love you. We're liberal.
So he's comparing It, the clown, to liberals.
Yeah.
Well, It the clown coerces people down into the drain, into his world from...
We're going to float down here.
We love you. We're liberal. Wow. That should be a t-shirt. Alex's angry pointed face. We're liberal. We love you. Wow. Oh, God. Again, you got to think, his delivery is making me want to say him. Because that was some insane acting shit.
Let's go back to the first guy.
But the words he actually said, I don't know, I think maybe I'll go... Okay, let's run through them, yeah. No,
Mikey says that homosexuals are worse than murderers and they're destroying the soul of the nation. Lance Wallanu says Jezebel witchcraft is poisoning the minds of Americans against Trump. See, he's talking sense, but he's just talking sense from his own perspective. Yeah, the media are a massive influencing factor in society. It gets presidents elected, it gets prime ministers elected. But sadly, he's coming at it from the point of view of an evangelical Christian who thinks that he is being victimised.
He's also one of those media outlets that's influencing people's opinions.
Exactly,
so
yeah. So it's
He's
classic.
poisoning the minds.
Yeah,
so it's classic doublespeak.
Yeah. Yep. Quite
Isn't
clever. Yeah.
It's straight out of
Realises
1984.
that there's a problem, use it to his advantage. Says it's there. So we're the ones that are being persecuted. Us and Trump, we're being persecuted by the left.
Yeah. It's all the left's fault.
We are.
Christian, even though this country's 80% Christian, we're the victims.
Well,
apparently the Bible's going to be banned soon, isn't it?
Apparently so. And there's the war on Christmas every year.
Who's got it then?
Oh, it's a difficult one, isn't it?
I'm going Alex. I'm putting my cards on the table. I'm going Alex just because he's fucking mental the way he acts and like, you know. I'm sure. Imagine how cringe it is being one of the crew members. That's what I was thinking about.
Oh,
you know the guy. Cause it's not a big busy studio now. It's a small fucking hokey operation. It looks all professional in that his studio there, but there's one cameraman. There's a producer standing next to him probably, maybe a sound guy, and you just stood there in the silent dark as he fucking looks down the barrel of the camera going, hey, come down. And you're just thinking, is this worth the money we're on? This is fucking
but then we're
weird.
not talking about going full Alex, are we?
Isn't this?
We're talking about the feeling of the... I mean, if
we're liberal, we love you.
It's everything, isn't it? It's performance and it's what they're saying.
I think if you're going to go...
Give it, Alex.
I'm giving it first guy.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going with the first guy.
No worries.
Because he's just...
It's a mental thing to say, but I just think it's...
I
guarantee you... How can a man loving another man be worse than murdering someone? It's insane.
Be worse than the so-called, or the alleged internment camps they've got going on the border right now, where there's no toothbrush, there's no blankets, but that Trump official lady stood there and said, yeah, That's alright. And the judge, who was a former prisoner of the Viet Cong, said, hey, even the Viet Cong gave me a blanket and a toothbrush.
Fuck. But did you see on the wrestling that Braun Strowman fucking charged the big dude they went through the screen at the back?
Who's the big dude?
Shit, what's his name? Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, did you spear him?
Yeah, and then they went through the screen and
No
it
way.
exploded and stuff. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, I didn't see it, but I'm
there's
sure I
good
will.
things too in the world. You see, you got to choose to live in the bubble like I do. You know, I go to work and then I finish work and I get straight back in my bubble, right? Where there's just PlayStation and the
Family
telly I
time.
choose to watch. Yeah, just in my bubble. No news, no politics, just my bubble.
See, I can't help it because I'll sit there at break and put Facebook on, and all of a sudden I'm just.
People.
I
That's
don't
the problem.
want to speak to any of them.
I'm on my own at work.
I'm just having a fag. I want to smoke 3 fags in 20 minutes and go to work.
That's my man.
That's it, 25 minutes. I've got a system now. I can eat my lunch in 5 minutes and then 25 minutes smoking.
Oh, yeah.
So 3 fags in 25
baby.
minutes. You can scoff my sandwich down and I'm back in the smoking area.
I'll drink to that. So, what's this fucking idiot's name?
Mike Heath, newcomer.
Mike Heath,
Well, he's
newcomer.
The cunt of
He's
the
the winner
week,
this
isn't
week.
he?
Yep.
He's got the.
He is.
He's got
He's
more
the
fun,
mad
Alex.
cunt of the week.
And on that note, Mike Heath, we present you a mad cunt of the week.
Fuck you, Mikey.
You've gone for most full, Alex. I've been Ben. I'm going to say don't drink the Flavour Aid and don't join a cult.
I've been Gaz. I'm going to say free Biff Tannen and goodbye.
I'm Mike. Thanks for listening. Peace out. May the force be with you.